under.
If he signed it, it is therefore law.
Chuck, it wasn't public. How did that?
It
a proclamation
doesn't
needs to be made public.
Published.
Yes, it does. What does a signed executive order do if it's not public? If no one knows that it's law? Before you drop me down, please, conservatives, please answer that question, please. Okay, thank you.
They will, absolutely.
Do they remember the question?
No, I wasn't listening. I was talking.
Okay, well, hold on.
Okay,
Ask it.
I don't know what it was either.
Shocker.
Why should we acknowledge his presupposition that he had in his question?
What did he presuppose? Be more
I
specific.
forget all the question and everything, but at the end or whatever, he made a claim or whatever that could not be backed up with just a basic claim. Like,
What was the claim?
I don't remember every
You
single
don't
word.
know.
Or whatever.
I remember. I made a presupposition. What was it?
You don't know what the claim is.
Bring him back up if you want to.
Back up.
Do you want me to recap?
Give the claim, Rinyald.
Wait,
what
what was the presupposition?
Go.
I
Ask
doesn't
last
know.
part of your
Okay,
question.
so there's
Give
this
him
group
this.
of
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know my drill. You're all panelists who have been here before, so you know if I tell you to shut up, you shut the fuck up. Outside of that, I hope you all have fun. Enjoy your conversation. Feel free to restream as you please. Sasquatch, you were the first one here. What say you, sir? And while you do that, I'm taking a quick tinkle break. Be good.
WhickTV, my brother.
What's up?
Does America have a culture?
Different parts of different cultures, but sure, yeah.
Oh, so America itself doesn't actually have a culture. It's just a bunch of immigrants that showed up randomly.
No, the culture has evolved over the years, but I would say the culture that we have is also shifting, I think, right now. But when I was growing up in America, right, the culture was one that was pro-free speech. We tolerated each other's differences, and, apple pie, hot dogs, 4th of July.
There you go. Now you getting it. Okay, so America has a culture, and we just want to defend our culture. Is that so much of an issue?
I think that you're attacking our culture right now. My culture, American culture, is under attack by people like you.
Like me?
Yep.
I'm just asking a question, brother.
No, well, I think that the question
You feel
is
attacked. That's because it's how
driving
you
to a
feel
point,
inside.
Hold on, the question is driving to a point, correct?
I want to know how you feel about American culture. You did a pretty good job at describing what American culture might be perceived as.
I like our culture. Our culture is better than other cultures.
Really?
Okay, can you describe other cultures?
Or would you rather export American culture?
Hold on, one at a time, because I can't hear both of you at the same time. Sorry.
Would you rather import other cultures to America or export American culture elsewhere?
I think that importing other cultures, I believe that, well, for example, I'll give you an example. Okay. So there are portions of other cultures that I think are better than American culture. For example, Chinese culture, they take care of their elderly in a way that we do not. And I think that's better. And if I could graft that onto American culture, I absolutely would. However, I think we do free speech and almost everything else better than the Chinese. So I'm very big on taking what works from other cultures and putting it into ours. And that's part of our culture. That's
part of American culture. Yes, sir.
American culture is grafting on other cultures into us and becoming more than the sum of its parts. And I think that by importing our culture, which we do, and do you know how we import all culture, sir? One of the major ways?
Immigration. Absolutely.
Yes, student visas specifically. We allow them to come to our colleges, to stay in our cities, to learn and to grow in our American melting pot culture, and then we send them back home where they can spread that to their family.
Do we actually send them back home?
I really want to kick into this just real quickly because I'm really being bothered by this conversation. I'm going to ask it outright. Out of all this panelists out here, thank you for having me, Sarah. I appreciate it. Thank you. Out of all the panelists here, who have migrated in their life, who have exited their country and have gone to live to another country?
Technically,
my dad was in the military, and I've been in the military, so me.
I haven't killed anyone recently either, but I'm not trying to go out and try that.
Technically, I was a dual citizen.
Okay, so out of all the panelists, only 4 of us have lived and experienced migration outside of our borders.
Yes and no.
Which point?
Yes and no. And out of those 4, I am the only one who throughout his whole life, by the age of 16, I had lived in 6 different countries: United States, Mexico, Argentina, Ecuador, Venezuela, Costa Rica.
Are you claiming some sort of expert status here?
Hold on, Sasquatch. I know you love to bombardier conversations with that bullshit you throw.
I've seen you drivel
I'm going to make
straight myself. So we're going to have a conversation, and it's not going to be a soliloquy by you.
No, but it's not going to be a clown show by you. So let's put this on this perspective.
God, I need a clown nose.
The majority of here don't even know what the hell you're talking about. The experiences, the knowledge in that sense.
You are claiming expertise, aren't you?
What angers me the most and what frustrates me the most in this conversation is, let's put it this way. The United States situation with irregular migration, it is in its majority its own fabrication because of its own foreign policies and the impacts of those foreign policies. Not excluding, and I want to make sure this is clear, not excluding the internal problems of each country. I can refer to, and I can give a masterclass in regards of the Latin American and the migration. For example, Venezuela. Out of the 8 million people who have migrated, only about 5% have chosen the United States. The majority have chosen countries of grounds.
So can I ask you something, though? Do you believe, okay, so a lot of times we look at something like MAGA and say, well, I understand this because I understand Donald Trump.
In the
so
world.
I understand why Donald Trump talks about immigration.
But
do you, in any world, when we think about this sweeping platform and reform from the White House, do you believe it's possible that immigration can just be a policy and not a total paradigm?
I wish it could be just a policy. But the problem is that for the past 80 years, even more, if we talk about the last 200, 250 years, it has been a paradigm. So if you want to just shift it to a policy, lovely, but fix the problems that you have in regards of why irregular migration happens, why undocumented migration happens, why the so-called badly illegal migration happens. Look, the difference between illegality and legality is an economic one.
Still going, bro.
To me, the reason I can't agree, and I'm not going to bogart, I just wanted to fit this in, is that as an American, you know, the thing of seeing ICE drag people out by their heels, by their socks, by their shoes, this is incredibly inappropriate. It also doesn't speak to any truth that Americans are familiar with, right? If I don't understand the cost, if I don't understand the impact on human well-being, I'm not going to understand a gosh darn thing. And so when you say that we have this 250-year paradigm, I say absolutely, totally, yeah. That's it. That's my time. See you guys.
Look,
my God, 10 minutes. Hold on, you got 10 minutes in the back, Doc, which is actually less time than Ryan, because Chuck sent 20 to send Ryan to the back, but then Gourdzilla backed it up with another 5. So Ryan had 25 minutes in the back, which is now sitting at 21. And Doc, I'm starting your 10-minute timer now. And Doc, did you notice I gave you your own emoji in the membership tab? No ducks.
Hey, let me put it this way before you kick me. Duck has an emoji in the back for being a libtard. Okay. And so glaze it up, guys. Glaze it up. If you don't like Duck, provide that visual cue that people aren't a fan of my political beliefs and the way I debate. That stuff's all fine. That's awesome.
All right,
I appreciate
go play with your duckies. Go play with your
I
duckies.
like roast duck.
Well, it took under 10
well,
minutes.
I know it didn't take long. I wanted to ask, Ditso, you're speaking from the experience as an immigrant, but do you have experience as a naturalized American citizen?
Of course, I am a naturalized Central American citizen. So in that sense,
again,
the question
like
here,
the United States of America citizen.
It's an interesting thing that Disto said, right? He said there are a lot of citizens from LATAM that want to come to America. So the question is, and he's like, why do they want to do that? They want to do that because they look for, and correct me if I'm wrong, and tell me how I'm wrong here, they feel like there's a better life here, right?
Okay, so let's put it into perspective. Latin America in 33 nations has 660 million people currently living in them. That is from Mexico down to Argentina plus the Caribbean. That doubles the population of the United States. The amount of people who are migrating are originating from 3 or 4 major areas, which are Mexico, the Triangle of the North, which is Honduras, Guatemala, Salvador. Then you have the situation of Venezuelans, which out of the 8 million, only about 5% have chosen the United States as their destination. So
okay,
it is untrue that we have to analyze why migration happens. What are the economic, social, political factors that force that?
Well, hold on one second here, though, right? So they're choosing other countries, but they're also choosing our country. And how many of them are actually coming here legally?
Right now, the majority of migration that happens to the United States is
actually legal.
Legal. So
yes,
anywhere between 85 to 90% of migration that happens annually to the United States is legal.
Yeah, we're not concerned with that.
The real point of it is that nobody's actually arguing here, I don't think, that legal migrants are a problem, right? Like we accept people from China, we accept people from Latin America.
Can we confirm that, please? Because, hold on, can we confirm that? Because while you might not, I've argued with plenty of people who say actually legal migration is a problem too. So is there anyone? I just want to confirm. Maybe you're correct, but is there anyone who thinks that legal migration? I'm talking about visas, H-1B visas, student visas,
all of that's
not
fine.
a problem.
Nope. Okay, so I'll actually.
Okay,
I'll back
you're right.
you up
I just
a
wanted
little
to
bit
confirm,
here, Wick.
so we can go forward.
Well, before we move on, like, do we at least acknowledge that like there is a really, really big contingency in the Republicans that believe that legal immigration is also a problem? Like Charlie Kirk just came out and saying that we need to drastically curb our legal immigration, and we're revoking student visas, and there's that one representative that's trying to pull the citizenship of the one guy who just got elected. Like there is a big contingency of Republicans that don't like legal immigration either.
So let's just put it.
But just give me a second, guys. Here, so I've been through this whole process, right? And there is a huge problem. And the last time I went through it, it was the Democrats in charge, and the problem still exists with the Republicans in charge. So I'm actually not bashing right or left on this, but when we went through our immigration process here, we had this problem where they said. Your visa's illegal, but you have to go to another country, but you're not allowed to leave the country right now. Otherwise, you'll lose your status. So you have to stay. So we're going to give you a temporary thing, but you're still going to be here illegally, right? Now, I think this kind of goes to the ICE thing, right? Now you're in this limbo where the government said you came legally, you applied to stay legally, but now you're in this limbo where you're actually not legal, but you're still allowed to stay legal. So, and this happened both with the Democrats and the Republicans. So there's a huge immigration problem.
So
when it's illegal citizens, but I don't think in this conversation we're actually talking about the people going through those processes. We're talking about the people that Sarah was talking about before that actually broke into her house.
But are we condemning the idea that the fact that like a lot of the Trump administration's focuses have been on people with permanent green. Well, no, it is relevant to the topic because we're talking about revoking student visas.
I'm going.
This message is sponsored in part by
Kissy Cat. I hope you were watching that. Shout out from K2. Keep on trucking. Big kiss to you. It sounds like to me we're trying to make it a little tougher and becoming more, I guess, stringent maybe on how you enter and the rules surrounding. It sounds like we're trying to crack down and not let it be so easy, right? And so typically you have to clean things up first before you can lay your new foundation, and maybe that's what's happening.
I agree, but if they're trying to real quick, because if we're trying to say that they're trying to clean up the system, that's implying that there's a problem with the system. So if we're saying, you know, we're trying to make it more stringent for immigrants to come into this country legally, that implies that there's a problem with the amount of immigrants coming in legally. That's the implication.
Let me kick in this real quick.
Oh, well, let me fire back. Yeah, if something's too laxed, right? If it's too laxed and we're like, hey, we don't like, people are just coming and going as they please. People are overstaying their visas, as Wick was saying earlier. People are doing this, doing that, all these things. And that means the system needs tighter ruling. And now you're arguing against that, saying, no, we want people to be able to come in and do this and do that. But we're saying, hey, no, we need to tighten up the reins a little bit and not just let any willy-nilly in the door.
Well, I just want to make sure that we all agree that...
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, just real quick, because there's a couple things that we need to really kind of focus on here so it's not forgotten. When they tighten the reins, so to speak, what they do is they reciprocally, or not reciprocally, I'm sorry. What's the word where you do it in the past?
Retroactively.
Retcon it. They retcon it. They retcon your status. So people who thought they came in here legally, who did the process legally, who were given legal status, suddenly and did it what they thought was the right way, are said, well, actually, no, we're going to consider you illegal now. We can consider that a crime now.
Well, in addition, I want to make sure that, like, if you want to say that we need to make it a lot harder for legal immigrants to come in here, then don't pretend like, I'm not saying that you're pretending, Sarah, but a lot of people like to have the conversation focused on illegal immigrants, but they also want to attack legal immigrants. But whenever they're, you know, pushed on that, like, hey, you also want less legal immigrants, they always walk back to the illegal immigrants. I just wish people were more honest about them actually just wanting to curb immigration and not just illegal immigration.
And also,
hold on, wait, give me a moment.
Brain drain is good when we drain other countries and we bring their best and brightest here. Yes, America is stronger because of that.
You're missing the point completely. So let's just put it frankly. The difference between the legal immigration and illegal migration is an economic one. The saying that, oh, we just want legal migration refers and it indicates that the wish is you want people who are economically viable towards your society and that have, hold on, that have a certain status to it. That has been the behavior for the past 100 and some years. Hold on.
These are separate issues, please. Border control is not the same as ICE enforcement. These are separate issues. Do not conflate them.
The problem is that today, the policies of Donald Trump don't give a damn about who is legally or illegally. They are directing the attacks of this ICE towards people they deem as different or with a certain, it has a racist undertone to it or an ethnical cleansing undertone to it.
This has nothing to do with anything. We
but
all
here
agree.
the discussion is, okay, look, legal migration, oh great. We can talk that till the cows come home. There are aspects, but if we talk about the irregular, undocumented, illegal migration that is happening, those are happening because of facts that are making people displaced in their areas and having to then forcefully move up to the north because of seeking that economic necessity. Why? What are those factors that are making people run away from the country?
Money.
Okay,
it's always money. And speaking of money, Evan Lord comes with a big 5, says Ditso is going to take a quick break to learn how to speak concisely. I don't hold it against you. I know this English is not your first language, but you got 5 minutes in the back, Ditso. So hang tight backstage for me.
So the distinction between illegal and legal immigration, I think, is a non sequitur. You're trying to conflate the concept of having an enforcement policy that is actually being enforced from just allowing an open border. I actually open for easier entrance into the U.S. I don't want Pedro with his ice cream truck to have to leave. I like Pedro. I like his ice cream truck. I think he's a good kid. He's going to make a great American one day, but he needs a pathway to do it. And I'm not adverse to Pedro, who's been here for 15 years since he was 12 and has lived as an American most of his life, to become an American. I think
But
that
that's
should
who
be
ICE is targeting. You understand that, right? That is ICE through their policies. That is who ICE is going after, because going after the criminals is hard, and going after
I am
Pedro
not.
with his ice cream truck is very easy.
Sure.
And it's
And
also Squatch.
This stuff.
Squatch, you're not being clear. It's also people just starting that aspect of the American journey, which is why we have due process for immigration in the first place. Can you clarify your points if you're going to say something to a room full of hundreds of people?
Ducky.
Sasquatch.
You know I got a
They gave up their right.
Nice.
You guys are talking over each other.
I mean, I don't
Yes, sir.
I don't want to be that guy. We're not. I don't think we're here to be talking about like our personal opinions on how global migration should look. This is about Trump's administration's actions. Like, if you want to say, oh, well, I don't personally agree with that, that's fine. Your morality isn't the thing that's at at trial here right now. We're talking about Trump's actions.
Hold on, this is the
actions,
problem.
yeah.
It's become a border control conversation, but that's not the conversation we should have, because it's not the same as talking about immigration enforcement when they're in our borders, when they're here, when we have an organization that, again, is going masked, without warrants, without badges, without uniforms, and they're finding people, they're black bagging them, they're putting them in a truck, they're not giving their due process.
What the hell is black bagging?
Putting a bag over their head,
Just
black
a bag over your head, jack you into the van, and drive off.
Oh, that's my girlfriend.
Oh my God.
So, Wick, I mean, what would your prescription be for this right now?
How many do you have, Chuck?
I got a whole closet full.
What would your prescription be right now?
So, first of all, start going and targeting criminals. That's good. And even if
they're all criminals.
Okay, there is a difference between someone who overstayed their visa and someone who is a leader of a gang that is human trafficking women.
There's no difference. If they walked across the border illegal, they're a criminal.
Do you think a cop should take more time to punish a jaywalker or punish a murderer?
Let me ask you this
Jaywalking
though.
You're not serious. These aren't serious answers.
Let me ask you, Wick. Let me ask you, Wick. If somebody is willing to be sneaky, right, overstay their visa and try to get away with it, then are they capable of doing more sneaky things to get away with it?
Citizens who are capable of doing all sorts of things. Humanity is capable of bad things, but we don't punish these things until they actually do them. So we can't.
They're already overstaying their visa.
That does not make them murderers. That does
it
not
doesn't make them a murderer, but it makes them doing something criminal.
But
Sarah,
why
stop doing something. Sarah,
hold on, please. Hold on, please. Stop.
Let him
Let me answer the lady's
answer.
question. Let me answer the lady's question, please. Because we don't treat all criminals the same, because we recognize that there are different degrees of criminals. Some are more dangerous than others. Some we need to go after more harshly than others. Some we need to punish more harshly than others, right? Some we put more focus on, with some we put less focus on. And I think that, again, to conflate someone overstaying their visa with someone who is a hardened gang member is going to lead to bad outcomes, and it's going to be bad, not just
past
for
each other.
America, but for its citizens as well. We don't want to conflate these things. It's bad to conflate.
Okay, so let me ask you a question based on that, right?
Evan, shut the fuck up.
No, go ahead, Evan. Evan sat here quietly for the last 40 minutes. He's okay. Go ahead,
All right.
Evan.
I will say there's like a positive incentive as well, where if they self-deport, then they get a chance to become a citizen, or they have a chance to go and immigrate legally. That's what's the positive thing is. And if they choose not to do that, then they can go and get they can get the carrot or they can get the stick. And them getting treated like criminals is the stick. And it's going and making it effective, because the problem of illegals going and working service jobs, they're not showing up, so the wages are increasing. There's a IHOP where I'm nearby, and they closed their doors because like the people that they were employing was only illegals, and it caused like a serious detriment of the quality of the place.
So let me put
And
this.
let me interrupt just for a moment. Christina, with her 7-month membership, hot diggity. This is starting to get like crazy to think about that. Like there can be people who have very long-term memberships. I'm very proud of that. Thank you, Christina, for sticking around. And I'm glad you like me. She says, breaking the law equals criminal. Duh.
Good
one. And Caldy with the big 5 says, calm down, Duck. Take a breather. Duck, you got 5 in the back, buddy.
fuck you.
All right.
Why do they
Don't
hate
yell at me.
That's why they do that to Duck, is because he comes in triggered out the gate. I mean, half the comments he makes in chat, we have to either uncover because YouTube hides them, or we don't. I don't anymore. I don't.
So let me put this into perspective. One, in the last 80 years, one of the major imports of migrants that the United States has had was Operation Paperclip, where you brought Nazi scientists to work on your space.
That was back in the 40s.
Hold on.
Let's try not to say that N word. Let's try not to use that N word if you don't mind.
You know,
the people back in the early 40s,
German
mustache guy.
Anyhow, I'm going to make a point here. Your country has benefited from the importing of the minds of not only Europe, but throughout the whole world. That's a matter of fact. Now, the question is, what has aggravated the conditions in the last 30 years for irregular, illegal, undocumented migration to happen?
There is no such thing as a
I was
regular
born
illegal.
and they all thought Wick is in America now. We gotta go, especially the ladies, those thick Latinas. Okay.
Well, Ditzo, you've been deported to the back. You got 5 more minutes in the back, Ditzo. Hang
Dude, I
tight.
love Ditzo. I really do.
I got a question for you, Sarah. I was doing a little research on Birthright Citizenship, and it stated that if they had allegiance to another country, that they were not to be eligible for citizenship. Their parents.
Where does it say that in the 14th?
How can you, as a child, have allegiance to another
No,
country?
no, no. I'm talking about the parents. The parents.
So what
Where
he's
does it
talking
say
about
that in the
is
14th Amendment?
Amendment is talking about people who are diplomats or ambassadors from other countries. And yes, our
that would make
14th Amendment birthright citizenship does not apply to them because their families, the diplomats and their families, have what's called diplomatic immunity. You may have heard of it, right? Where they are not subject to the jurisdiction of America in the same way anyone else would be. It's a very special condition, and they carved that out specifically because I realized it could maybe cause some problems, right? So yes, if you're a diplomat and you have a child here, that child does not automatically become a citizen.
That makes sense because they're only here as like an ambassador of their country, so they're not here because they want to be here to work here, live here. Their allegiance is not to us. They're just here to help be an ambassador. That actually makes sense.
That's not an immigrant either. That's an ambassador.
No, that's not. Yeah, it's not an immigrant. They're not here to be an American citizen. They're here to represent their country on American territory and help aid the communication between the two.
Technically speaking, anywhere they step is their native soil.
Yep, in the embassy or whatever that they bought.
Can I ask a question real quick? Okay, so it seems like we have this idea that if you do any crime, you should be met with some sort of criminal punishment. Like, do we believe that we should be deporting like criminals who are citizens?
No.
Why not?
No, you go to jail.
Our criminals are our problems.
So
we're not.
Well, Donald Trump disagrees with you, right? Because he suggested the idea of deporting homegrowns, quote unquote.
Yeah, true.
I don't know.
I think this is the problem of the whole debate right now is that we have to look at it in different sections, right? So we're talking about people that are legally or in visa.
Is he cutting out?
Or people that broke over the border.
Hold on. Is that Vibe talking?
Yes. He's
Vibe. Vibe, you froze up.
His job, the immigrants took his job.
He got deported, and that's what happened.
They took his job.
You got deported.
Okay.
All
Am I
right.
back here? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, there you are. And let's give it a minute to sink in. Alexander with the Big 10 says overstaying your visa is a civil violation, not a criminal one. People who overstayed are not criminal illegal aliens. Which are you all talking about? I don't think we're talking about necessarily I don't think we're talking about all people who that was a claim that Wick made earlier, is that they were overstaying their visas, and that's why they're here illegally. But I would say people who are overstaying their visa and then tapping into new social security cards in order to keep working, using different names, aliases, so on and so forth, that is illegal. That's fraud.
All right, so I'm about to go to the back, but I wanted to piggyback on this because this is a super important point. And I think we were absolutely conflating this earlier. Like when you guys we were talking about people overstaying their visas and accusing them of being criminal, and they are not. That's not a criminal offense. It is specifically a civil offense, which obviously they can be deported for that, but it's not like they wouldn't be prosecuted for being that. And I think conflating the two,
which is a problem of sending them to CCOT, right? Where they send a lot of them
exactly.
to CCOT. That again. We would, as I said during the one-on-one discussion we had, Sarah, if we were talking about just put them on a plane, give them a ticket, and send them to their home country, we'd have a different conversation. But that's not what we're talking about. We're in many cases, what they're doing is sending them to a foreign prison where we have trouble getting them back from if we do it wrong, as we saw with our Abrego Garcia, where the government said, "Well, it's hard for us we can't just get them back," and that's a problem for me that we send people to a foreign prison for not being criminals in a civil violation without due process. That's a problem.
Yeah. So,
in addition
and
to
that's the.
since I'm about to go to the back.
Yeah, go ahead.
In addition to that, like now, after there was a recent Supreme Court ruling where they're now sending people to countries that they're not even from, right? And some of these countries are like active war zones and like really dangerous places. And this is, I mean, I imagine being sent to somewhere where you might get killed like super easily. And
I
you
should
had
have
no due
thought
process,
about that.
you weren't a criminal. You were just like you're being and people are sitting on a panel. A bunch of Americans are sitting on a panel calling you a criminal, and then you get deported and you get killed. Like just imagine being in that scenario. It'd be horrifying, right? Okay.
Look,
actual
psychopath behavior.
If you can just return, this is simple. The issues of what you call illegality migration has to do with the impacts of foreign policy of the United States and also internal problems in each other countries.
Can we please stop broadening the conversation?
For the past 30 years, I out of those 30 years, I've been working 25 years in my respective country to try to fix those issues. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, now Trump again. Last 5 presidents. Last year, we had 6 major meetings in Guatemala, Mexico, etc.
What's your point, sir?
Yeah, please skip.
Give me a moment. I'm getting to the fucking point.
You've been getting to it.
You've gotten to this point
While you
5
take
times.
your time getting to the point, allow me to let all of the maters know we are going to be shifting over to the gauntlet here in just a few minutes. I will continue to drop the video link into the chat for you to just go ahead and move over now, or you have to wait and catch the raid. There's 180, 90 of you watching. So I expect to see here shortly all of you maneuver over to the gauntlet. I will shut the tomato down. Same show, different channel. Everybody on screen is staying in place.
Do I have to rejoin StreamYard, Sarah, or am I good here?
I just said everybody here on the panel is staying in place. You don't have to move, but the chat does. So if you're in the chat and you're enjoying it and having fun, start moving over. Everybody's already over at the gauntlet. They're moving over there. I will continue dropping the link, and here in a few minutes, I will shut Tomato down completely, and you'll have to catch the raid wave on over. Okay, did so. I think we're all ready to listen to you.
In simple terms, Wick is too superficial in his analysis. There's things I agree with Wick, and I applaud that he's able to say. But the problem and the depth of the problem is something that has been ongoing for a long time. That's a fact. Now, there are clear undernotes of xenophobia, of racism, and other BS of the United States side that impedes them to really get shit done and fixed. Because if we could get, for example,
Is your point that America is racist? Because you got that across.
No. That's just one of the factors, but it's not the whole factor. I'm speaking in a more broader sense before we get into the whole depth of this whole issue. Because at the end, irregular, illegal, or undocumented migration is happening because of facts, of things that are being done. So why hasn't your country opened the table, and in the last 5 presidents, let's sit down with our governments and said, let's fix this. Because
you're asking questions to things that like we have no control over. Like that is ambassador, presidential kind of.
It's beyond the scope of the conversation. We're not talking about immigration in general. We're talking about immigration enforcement, ICE specifically.
Look,
there is a conversation to be had about border policies and border issues, but we aren't talking about that today. Today we are talking about once they're here, regardless of why, what do we do?
Okay, so let's put it simple. This isn't the first time ICE has acted like a terrorist group.
How did he maintain control?
Acting terrorist.
This one's to all of you big booty. This one is to all of you big booty Latinas out there, just for Kissy Cat.
This message is sponsored in part by...
And Harry is booting Ditso. Ditso, I'm going to give you 60 seconds to summarize what you're saying much quickly.
Simple. ICE is a terrorist group. It's a criminal association, and it's a federal criminal association that deserves to be punished for violating human rights. That's what they are. And anybody who supports that supports terrorism.
Right. See, he can be concise. He can do it. He can do it. He chooses not to do it.
So the
10 minutes in the back, Ditso. Go ahead.
The reason I asked the original
Nonfon's so pretty and nice.
I love Nonfon so much.
Pretty. What the
new
hell?
haircut too? Oh my. So the reason I asked the original question was because we all agree that there's a certain amount of rights and there's a certain amount of process that people go through whenever they're being prosecuted for certain crimes. It's not as simple as, oh, you jaywalked, or oh, you did a civil offense, so we're going to get you out of the country as quick as possible with no ability for you to like that's not how our immigration system is supposed to work. A lot of the reasons that Donald Trump is able, even kind of like has the ability, like the cloak of able to do any of this, is because he's invoking emergency powers. This isn't normal. Okay, the things that we're seeing aren't normal. These aren't normal criminal punishments. These aren't normal civil punishments either. So like there's process that we need to go through, and everyone is so willing to look past that because we just see criminal, and then our like American like tough on crime brain kicks in, and we feel the need to kick them out of the country as quick as possible. That's not how this system's supposed to work.
Jaywalking is a city offense. Crossing the border is a national
Crossing the border is a civil offense. It's not a federal crime.
Rinyald, I will say that there's a lot of illegal immigrants have built up over the years, and right now it's reached kind of like a bit of a critical point. So right now we should just go and try to get back to like 0.0 or as close to it as feasibly possible. And then after that, then we could potentially go and put forward with new measures after we go and fix immigration law. Because right now it's like a ship that has a lot of water and it's kind of slowly being dragged down. And we just need to bucket it out.
Does Donald Trump have a border bill in place? Does he have any plan other than just aggressive policing?
He got the law as it's written right now.
Yeah, and he's abusing it. He's going outside of that law.
I love how my chat is aggressively policing my panel and booting everybody to. You're all just getting deported. You're getting fired, and you're getting fired, and you're getting fired from the panel. All right, Rinyald, 5 in the back.
This is capitalism.
I do take issue with Evan's framing here. Like this is sinking our country.
I get to take a break for a second.
I would pause.
I don't know. I'm being way more aggressive here because everyone, we keep broadening the conversation out so far.
they're trying to fix that by taking a rocket launcher and blowing up the ship and saying, in the middle of the ocean, we're going to blow up our ship and then we'll fix it. Then we'll put it back together once we've blown it all up. No.
But there's another aspect here that you haven't even mentioned. No one here has touched it. The aggressive enforcement has acted as a deterrent to the flood of legals that were coming across the border. Those are the ones that this is actually aimed
the
at.
aggressive enforcement is illegal.
Okay, sure. I'm not trying to conflate the two like you are. I'm trying to make the point of illegal immigration has plummeted. Plummeted.
So I mean, I think that's a bad thing, but also, again, like Rinyald was talking about, this is not normal enforcement, right? This is Trump invoking emergency powers to do
this. Is normal enforcement. Barack Obama did the same damn thing.
No, he didn't.
Did Barack Obama ever invoke the Alien Enemies Act?
Who did Barack Obama send to CCOT?
I love you, Nonfon.
Who did he
Oh
send
my
to
God.
a foreign prison?
To be fair, CCOT wasn't built yet.
But
Good
you
one,
understand
buddy.
my point? Who did Obama? Because we're not talking about deportations only. We're talking about sending them to foreign prisons, which is a different thing, and let's not conflate the two.
Well, speaking of foreign prisons, ladies and gentlemen, I'm officially shutting down the tomato side. Don't worry, it's automatically set to raid over to the gauntlet. If you're
I don't know
already
how
over
long
at the
I've been out,
gauntlet,
but God, I need
congratulations.
in.
You know how to listen and listen well. The rest of you, 130 of you, let's see, there's 80 smart people over on the gauntlet side. There's still 130 of you not listening and paying attention to what I'm saying. All right, I'm shutting down Tomato. I'll drop the link back in the chat again. Otherwise, catch the raid over to the gauntlet. Same show, different channel.
Who gave you authorization for that deportation act there, Sarah?
I am in charge. This is a dictatorship. I get to fucking decide anything. And every once in a while, every once in a while, I'll let my chat speak and I will listen. Deportation isn't a puzzle. Oh, I did that already. Kissy Cat with the big 5 says, "What about jaywalking across the border?"
Okay,
Shots fired.
Cat should jaywalk onto this panel.
Get him out of here.
Okay, she can. We won't deport her, I promise. But you can.
I think we ought to just adopt the policy, shoot them on the spot before they get across.
Shocker.
That would put an end to illegal immigration.
All right, promise me you won't mention napalm, Chuck. Just don't.
Well, that's a thought.
Why are we cruel? Can I just have Chuck? Is that your name? Why do you want them to suffer?
Cruel. It has nothing to do with cruel. It's a matter of gaining control of a situation that's out of control.
So there are multiple ways to gain control of situations that are out of control, and I'm arguing tonight that ICE is making it worse. It is spiraling into chaos, and as I think was mentioned by Evan, or it might have been someone else, this is done on purpose to incentivize self-deportations. They are purposely creating cruel and conditions and causing chaos and saying, if you don't do it yourself, we're going to do it for you, and it's not going to be nice. They're being cruel on purpose and by design.
How are they being cruel?
So one of the ways that they're cruel is by deporting them from schools. So a mother who dropped her kid off at school. Did you see the video, right, of that mother who was being detained by 3 ICE agents crying that she just wanted to see her child? Can you not agree that whether or not you think we should do it anyway, because sometimes we have to be cruel, I understand that, but that is cruel. Can you at least...
I haven't seen actual legitimate reports of ICE raiding schools. Are there some out there?
They were rejected. There was an attempt and
schools.
So it didn't happen. It didn't happen then.
Okay, it did. And I can give you examples.
Schools.
Now wait a minute. We got one liberal saying it did and one communist saying it didn't. So which is it?
Well, here is what is being said by Ryan in the back. That's 10 from Console. And we got Golly with another 10. That's 20. You need to find some rich fans who can buy you back on. That's what you need. And then another 5, Ryan out. So
Can I
we're
read a
Damn.
paragraph before I'm gone for
25.
25 minutes?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll give you that.
Brian, give up on the chat GPT. Use your own word.
Just because you don't look, okay, Boomer, you don't have to understand ChatGPT. It's fine. Like, look, whatever. It's past your time. That's okay. But ICE is they're jailing visa overstayers and asylum seekers indefinitely with no hearings, rushing people onto planes, sometimes to countries they've never even set foot in, under a tweaked Alien Enemies Act. They're yanking TPS from hundreds of thousands without review. They're tearing up student visas for political posts, and they're roping in local cops to profile anyone with an accent. All civil violations are being recast as national security threats, so the administration can skip the courts, skip lawyers, and bulldoze basic due process in real time. Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Tell ChatGPT and everyone else where the lie is. All right, Chuck?
Seriously.
Bye, Boomer.
Was it?
Hi, Boomer.
It was, wasn't it? He just indoctrinated himself through AI. It's amazing.
Ditso's got about 2 minutes left. Ryan's got 25 in the back.
Squatch, you're talking to no one.
Bear with me just a moment.
I
Alexander,
personally think that we need to build. Sorry, Sarah.
Sarah's reading.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Hey, don't get in the way of a woman and her money. It won't go well for you.
I'm just gonna give you that look.
I know. I'm
back.
out of the way.
I
I'm
know
out of
you
the way.
don't do
I
it
always talk
intentionally.
over her.
I know. See, Vibe is such a sweetheart, though. He's like, I started a Discord call one night randomly, and I was like, Maters, like, let's jump in the call. And Vibe actually came in, sat, chatted with me, having a nice conversation. We talked about like computer dorky stuff and everything. So he has my heart on that one, and I know he would never intentionally talk over me. Alexander with the big 5 says, "What makes you believe that we're at critical mass now? Also, all immigration has plummeted." Any thoughts on that one?
I will say like wages have declined a lot for like basic service work, and and there's a lot of young people who can't get jobs. Like I know like a lot of my friends personally, like they are just coming out of college and they can't even find like temporary jobs to go and just do while they're looking for like their college careers. So that's kind of like a
Evan, you don't have friends that went to college. Shut the fuck up.
Well, number one, there's too many college graduates.
Holy.
One, I don't think there's evidence that wages have declined even for basic service work. I don't think that you can find evidence for that effect. Like from all my reading, wages have trended upward over the last 30 years or whatever. But secondly, even if they have, you still have to find actual causal evidence that like immigration was the cause of that. And we just don't see that. Like we have studies where they look at cities that had a lot of immigration compared to similar cities that didn't have much immigration. And what they find is that like even with like pretty large amounts of immigration, the only people that are really hurt are like high school dropouts. And it's like a negative 1% effect on wages. And that's short term. And long term, you don't see the same negative effects. And we do have evidence, by the way, that deportations actually do decrease employment, because Obama had his program, the Secure Communities program, that deported a lot of people. And we saw that when you deport like 500,000 people or whatever, we actually saw employment go down by 44,000 for native born citizens.
Well, if people would get off their ass and do a job regardless of the job. Well, that's what I had to do. I started off digging ditches.
True, you just gotta go outside and dig a ditch. That's all you gotta
burning
do.
witches. A kissy cat with a big 10 says Dick Matership. Didn't we come up with this word on another panel?
I'm pretty sure we did.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Mater.
I forgot of this wonderful word. I fucking love it. Dick Matership at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, with my Dick Matership, I apply just for all it's $20 to boot. Duck to the bat. He says, nope, duck to the back. And ladies and gentlemen, I did carry over the no duck emoji over on the gauntlet side as well. So if you have a member, I felt like that one was worthy of the love. And Alexander, again with the Big 10, says, does nobody care about how much it's costing us to deport all these non-criminal aliens?
ICE is $1 billion over budget. $1 billion with a B dollars over budget.
And we're what, 6 months in?
Crazy.
That's
crazy.
5 months in?
They'll recoup that from everything that the illegals are scooping up free of charge.
Hold on. Chuck, let me ask you this: Are you a man who criticizes the deep state, who openly defies the deep state, Chuck? Are you?
If it exists, if it exists.
Okay, so why is it that, and riddle me this, why is it that today the movement that criticized institutionality of the United States, the so-called deep state, is now today the majority of that same organization, MAGA, supporting a federal institution to enforce xenophobia?
To enforce what?
Basically
Racism. He's saying American racist, but he's saying it differently.
Oh.
I love how you can translate that. Kokomo with the Big 10 says what leftists can never understand. You can't just let anyone who want it. Let me start that one over. What leftists can never understand. You can't just let in anyone who wants to. The infrastructure and services can't handle it. Any thoughts from the lefties?
Thank God no one's arguing for
I don't
that.
think anyone
I'm not an
that,
open
but-
borders guy.
Thank
if I
God no
may.
one
I'm
argued
not
for
an
that.
open borders guy.
Go
I'm
ahead, Rick.
for reasonable restrictions on immigration. That's fine. We're not. No one's. At least I'm not arguing for letting anyone in. What I am simply saying tonight is that the way that we are enforcing the people who do get in, whether that be legally or illegally, what we are doing is hurting us as a country. That's my stand.
How's it hurting?
And in simple terms, you benefit more by migration because you obtain people that can do a whole bunch of things for your country than wasting your money and your taxpayers in funding a federal institution, a terroristic federal institution that is acting like thugs, like criminals.
They are not terroristic. They're there by the law of the land.
Deal with it. Deal with it. I don't care how you feel about it.
Make terroristic.
That's a fact.
What a
They're
good
terroristic
conversation this is.
organization.
No, they are not. I will argue with you all day long, buddy.
You defend the deep state. Okay, good to know, Chuck. You defend the deep state.
Oh,
that's good to know, and that's good to know that. And that's good to know that Trump supporters that are anti-migration support the deep state. That
if the law was there was no ICE, then I wouldn't support ICE. I would be fighting ICE. But it's written into law that ICE exists and has a purpose.
Okay, well, I obviously. Okay, can we agree that ICE
I'm gonna
has at
go
least broken the
hyperbolic
law
on
at
this.
some points? Like
I'm
they
gonna go-
literally.
So if you
literally.
you break
they
the laws,
committed at
ICE
least a
is a
Fuego
terrorist
Garcia.
organization. It's a federal terrorist organization. Like it or
No,
not.
it's not.
It's an organization that are fulfilling.
It's my let's say it's my normative ethics.
This message is sponsored in part by.
All right, I just wanted to do that. I wanted to cleanse my palate. Go ahead, did so.
Yeah, no. So, of course, I'm trying to be a bit hyperbolic here, but the point being is that Wick is right. ICE is making
Just
shit
true.
worse.
Yeah. I mean, Wick is
Wick-
right about everything, but yeah.
Wick is right, at least in that sense.
Wick
And
is
also,
correct.
Wick
I-
is very handsome. That's also
You
true.
see,
Wick is very, very
Wick is a
charming.
YouTuber and therefore correct. We are all
You know
correct.
what? The more money you give me, the more
Simple.
correct I become.
Good.
Okay.
Now you're happy, Wick. But the point being is, yes, ICE is making shit worse because they're having terroristic behavior. And that terroristic behavior is a policy of this administration. Why? Well, that's another conversation. But let's face it. ICE, as a federal institution, they are acting out like ISIS or any other organization.
They are performing
I don't know about
legal law.
I don't know about that, buddy.
You would.
Can I address the super chat? Actually?
Yeah,
just beheadings.
can I? If you want to read it first
Sure.
and then
Michael
address
Tugless for $5.
You have to say it's sexier.
Doesn't get any
You have to
tugs,
say it-
right?
Gotta say it's sexier.
Okay, Michael Tugless.
Holy shit.
I can't do that.
You didn't say anything when 10 million were brought in.
I gotta go bark.
Damn. Give me your phone number, Wick. I'm ready.
About a few thousand going out.
Okay, stop.
Give me a break. Hands where we can see him, boys. Hands where you too, Sarah. Hands where we can see him. Okay, exactly. Oh yeah. Okay, so one.
Hands up, don't
You don't know
coon.
my position on immigration, because I haven't come here to state that tonight, you don't know it. You don't know whether I want more or less stricter enforcement at the border, less enforcement at the border. That's not my argument here. That's not what we're talking about. Border enforcement is not the same as ICE. Say it with me. ICE is different than borders. ICE is not
It's the same department.
No, it is not. We have the
No,
Border
security.
Patrol, which is a separate thing. They're separate for a
Well,
reason.
yeah.
ICE is for once
they're-
they get loose in the country.
True.
Get
Yes.
loose.
So they're
They act
different.
like the dogs running around.
Border
with
and ICE
leashes.
are part of Homeland Security.
No,
They're
this is my problem, Chuck.
two
And I love you,
branches
buddy,
of
because
a
the Bears
different
is beautiful,
department.
but you don't know these basic facts of the matter, and it's hard to have a discussion with you because you don't know that there's a difference between these institutions and organizations.
So
I just said there was. Border control is when they're at the border. ICE is for the ones that get through illegally.
Okay. So
you know, I mean, I would kind of agree with Wick on all of this, but when it comes down to it, right? Like,
Go ahead, Vibe. Go ahead.
We're all over the place right now. Like, we're going from the top, the bottom, everywhere, right? And I think really, if you want to have a proper debate on this, we have to start at the bottom, right? And determine who is like.
At the bottom.
Do we all agree what is illegal and what's not illegal? Now we have illegal people here, and there's a dirty little secret that the United States actually really loves illegal immigrants because.
Well, why don't we just go back to slavery then?
It all matches back. It all matches back to minimum wage, right? So we have minimum wage here. I got to pay like $25 for somebody to flip a hamburger, or I can. I can.
Might as well.
No, but what I'm saying is we're all over the place. We have to start at the bottom. We have to start at the bottom of who's actually illegal. And I don't care if you've never committed a crime. If you came here illegally, it's like if somebody gets a drunk driving, they're still going to be prosecuted, even if they're a citizen. If you come over illegally, like this is the bottom level, right? It's the same thing as a drunk driving. You committed a crime, right? We start at the bottom, and then we start working up. We start working up from there.
Understand? Hold on. There are different punishments for different offenses, and we have prosecutorial discretion in America, meaning we sometimes look the other way for certain offenses that are on the books. No one, to my knowledge, even though these laws are technically on the books, are prosecuted anymore for anti-sodomy laws, right? Even though these laws are on the books, right? Even though they exist, we have what's called prosecutorial discretion, where a prosecutor can, using his judgment, say, you know what, it was illegal what you did, but we're not going to go after you for different reasons, for extenuating circumstances. Again, I am not here to argue that we shouldn't deport immigrants. I
agree with you.
So what you're saying is we ought to sodomize them.
The way you're doing it right now, the way the Trump administration is conducting itself right now, the way ICE is conducting itself right now, I would say violates people's First Amendment rights, their Fourth Amendment rights, their Fifth Amendment rights, and their Eighth Amendment rights. And
they are not citizens. They don't have them rights.
What I am saying is let's work our way up there instead of jumping all over the freaking spectrum, right? Let's get to that point. Let's get to the point of that.
Sarcastic Warlock with the big 5 says, if you don't wash your underbits, you'll get dictators. Scrub more often. And yes, Dick Maters in the house. Speedy Lee with the big 10 says, nations have a right to be xenophobic, and Ditso is proving why. Boot him. Okay, I'm adding another 10. I booted him on the 5, and now I got to add another 10 on to that. There you go. And then Evan Lord with the big 2. My ears and eyes need a palate cleanser, Sarah. It's going to cost more than $2.
More than $2, yeah.
Come on now. I don't even read them normally if they're 2. I normally just put the 2s on the screen and call it a day. And thank you, Mr. Bill, for kindly reminding me earlier to send to put the StreamYard link up and pin it. I always tend to forget when I switch channels. So thank you.
Figured it was something like that. No worries.
Well, you know, when you're a dictator, you forget things.
Yeah,
so let's.
Wait, what's the punishment for breaking and entering? You were talking about punishments for crimes. What's the punishment for breaking and entering into somewhere you're not supposed to be?
Depends on the state. Depends on what.
At my house, it's death.
Yeah, it's depending on your situation there, but in most places, you know,
There's
it's at
context.
least
You understand that all breaking and
6
entering
months.
is treated the same, correct?
6
Well, it's
months.
kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
Like we have to stair step up all the way to ICE. And by the way, Wick, you're my favorite lefty, and I don't even know if you're a lefty because you are very intelligent. I love the way you go, and I want to get up to ICE. But the very
Rick, are
first
you
thing we
more
need to
left
do,
center?
I'm left of center, yes.
yeah.
But I'm
Now
not.
that he's
I really enjoy listening to Wick. Okay, so I'm far right, but I still love you guys.
Or just go do it. Yeah, I love the verbal fellatio. Continue, please.
I'm slightly right of Attila the Hun. I believe we should all do what I say, but if we're not going to do that, let's work out this voting thing and make it fair.
But I want to build up to the ICE on like the ICE statements he's making, and we're all over the place, right? We're talking about
you gotta put water in the ice tray, and then you gotta get it cold. You know.
I
And
just always
speaking
feel
of
you
cold,
need building blocks.
Golly sent another 20 and says, keep Coder back there. We're going to keep you cold in the back, Ryan. I added the other 20
Damn.
on. And Evan Lord says, fair enough, Sarah. Let's get a stronger cleanser. Which one do you want, Evan? You want the horse? You want the butt shaker? You want the ballerinas? You want dealer's choice?
He better not say fireman.
Dealer's choice.
You want the fireman?
That is not the fireman. Holy. That's crazy.
This message
That's
is
way
sponsored
crazier.
in part by.
That one's crazy.
Sponsored
Crack
by
kills.
Evan Lord. All of you fine gentlemen, not only in the chat, but on panel, please say thank you to Evan Lord for that sweet,
Thank you,
sweet
Evan.
palate cleanser. All right, back to you, fine gentlemen. I'm going to tinkle. You'll be good.
Holy, that was
Okay, now
so
the
what?
the ritual can begin. First of all of you who disagree with me, you're un-American, and I'll deport you immediately once I become president of these United States. Second of all, right, vibe. I am your favorite, just in general, and that's okay. And I should be.
And I'm your favorite, right? On the right.
Third, look.
Now look, you guys
my
can get a room.
favoritism
That's okay.
is for sale. I am a capitalist, sir. Whoever gives me the most money is my favorite. So you can get that status, but you have to do the work. So thirdly, I just want to hear a good argument from any of the people who disagree with me tonight of why you're okay and why you trust a federal organization such as ICE to not have to show their faces, to not have to show warrants, to not have to show badges, and not have to wear uniforms, and to be able to be empowered to arrest and detain people. Why are you okay with the government having that power?
Called
Because
undercover.
the Democrats fucked it up.
The police aren't doing their jobs, so we kind of need to go and have people that can go and operate beyond the police because the police aren't working with them in a lot of cities.
It's not the police's responsibility.
How many decades did we let this happen?
Jobs, I would argue that ICE isn't doing it isn't doing its job of deporting violent criminals. They are specifically going after non-violent criminals, which is
They're
not what
still criminals.
Okay.
They're still criminals.
Let's look at this
Get
way,
all the
right?
jaywalkers out of
So,
here, please.
Well, I'm gonna go back to the drunk driving, right? I get pulled over for drunk driving, and they go, "Oh my God, you have no criminal record. Keep on driving." Like, I mean, they came illegally, and this is why I keep on saying we have to start at the base, right? And let's build up from that, right? So we have illegal aliens that came here illegally. We have legal people that their visas expired or what happened. There's so many stair steps into this whole legality. And by the way, on whether it was Democrats or Republicans, every one of them have failed to do it right. Like I'll say Republicans are failing at it. Democrats failed at it. There are multiple tiers. So if we argue from the bottom and go up, then maybe we can get to a conclusion here.
Donald Trump is also failing at this. He is not adhering to the laws that bind his power in these deportations. He is failing at doing this in a legal way.
Every president before this.
No, not at least.
Yeah, not to the
nearly
degree that
same
Trump
extent.
is.
Okay, not from. How did Biden not fail at this?
I'm not
Biden-
saying whether or not Biden did or didn't fail.
Hold
I'm
on,
saying
who
that
did
if you're
Biden
defending
send
Trump's
to a foreign
policies,
prison? Who did Biden send to a foreign prison? Who did he deport there without a trial?
No, I'm asking not from how Biden failed on this.
Okay. Trump, we understand
this is Trump's policy.
Hold on, just real quick, vibe. I understand what you're saying, but would you acknowledge that they failed in different ways? Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think every
yes,
political party has been
good.
failing.
I'm trying to build something with you here, right? Okay, so carry on. So you agree with me that they were failing in different ways, that the Trump 1 failed differently than Biden did, then failed differently than Trump 2 has, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So we can also look at the ways they failed and say, well, hey, this way of failing is worse than this way of failing. We can measure these things. We can judge these things. We can look at the metrics and see which one has had a bigger, worse impact and which one has had a less worse impact. Correct? That's something we can do.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No, I mean,
think so? Why not?
Because there's been a long-term failure on the government side on handling this.
Okay, but again, I disagree with you on that point, and this is where our disagreement is going to be, is because I think that we can look at the ways that they've done wrong and say this is less wrong and this is more wrong. And my argument tonight that the way Trump is doing it, regardless of what you think of how the other people failed, is worse than Trump 1, is worse than Biden, is worse than Obama, is worse than Clinton, is worse than Bush, is worse than Bush 1, is worse than Reagan even. It's at another level. It's worse. Now, you could say that the failures of the others have enabled it, and I would maybe even agree with you on this. The executive has been eating up more and more power for my entire life, okay? Right? The executive branch has been gobbling it up like it's a buffet, like they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. In Congress, spineless cowards that they are, have allowed it, okay? I agree with you. But this is the problem. I can't turn back time. I don't have a time machine, but I can address the issues with Trump.
Jim Croce.
And before anybody responds to the chat, DGen Power Hour begins in 15 minutes, actually slightly less than that, but only if you fulfill the goal. You've gotten your 2.5 to 3 hours already. Hit the goal and we will keep pressing on, but you have to hit the goal. So you got 0 out of 10 rate. And actually, I will apply because this super chat came through right as soon as I set the goal. So I will apply that 1 extra in there. So you got 9 more to go. Hit the goal or we shut down. I want to keep going. This is getting really good and feisty. I don't know about you all, but I do. Michael Tuglas with the big 5 says, hey, Wick, I say we use
Say it sexy. I had to say it sexy. You got to read it.
Michael Tuglas with the big 5. Hey, Wick, I say we use prosecutorial discretion for Trump's illegal deportations. What say you?
Well, with that, I don't know how I can disagree. No, what does that mean? What did you just say? We use prosecutorial discretion for Trump's illegal deportations.
Yeah, like violations of the Fifth Amendment.
Trump deports less, meaning that we don't prosecute Trump. What do you mean? You got to clarify, buddy. Spend more money to do so.
We just put a little pause on the Fifth Amendment. All right, just put a little pause on it, and then we'll be good.
And Ryan, you got an extra 10 in the back, and I love how he was such a good sport about it. He's telling people thank you for supporting the channel, and then additionally another 5 minutes added on. 1, let's see, 2, 3, 4. Oops.
Damn.
I need him at 30.
I thought I was the only one that gave him the boot.
Right. Your TikTok is now up to 34 minutes with time ticking down and time added on. Kissy Cat wants to keep on pushing. We will keep on pushing. And you know what, Kissy Cat? This one's for you.
This message is sponsored in part by...
I'm not sure why, but every time I see that one, I wipe my mouth.
Fair enough. Ditso has 2 more minutes, and Duck has returned. I guess he wants to continue supporting the show.
I have a question. So this is for the brave, and I know a lot of the MAGA folks here are going to be a little frustrated. They're seeing a democratic socialist like Mamdani. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more in the future about him. He's winning New York.
Don't get me started on that clown.
Chuck, I'd love to hear your take on this, actually. So I'm just curious, how would we expect a United States sort of national platform to look like when, in reality, if we don't have immigrants in our country and small business owners, employers, managers, investors don't understand these people as their customers, as their coworkers, as homeowners, as people getting advanced educations, how would we expect to have a platform in the first place?
I'm sorry, I have to respond to this. I don't think the United States limits anybody coming into this country. We're just talking about illegals. That's it. Nothing else.
Nothing against the legal people. Hell
we
no.
educate the Indians. We educate the Chinese.
There is one
everybody. We let them in. If they want to get a visa, we keep them.
If you're a criminal in your native country, usually default any attempt at a visa, typically. But
it is pretty hard to
This is a
immigrate
very open
legally.
country.
Like, we do have a lot of restrictions on that. We cap how many people get green cards every year. We make there's 14-year waiting list for some countries, right? Like, not that justifies illegal immigration, but
there's not a 14-year
waiting
list for the United States. There is not a 14-year waiting list for the United States. You can get here.
I'm pretty sure there actually is.
For some countries,
there's a long wait.
It might be even longer in Mexico. It depends on what type of visa you're getting, obviously.
Post that in the chat. I want to see that. I don't believe that. I came here.
Remember when you had 5 years to get a court date?
What has been posted in the chat is bye, Duck. Duck has now 25 minutes in the back. Shots fired. Gestural just does not like Duck on screen. And Kissy Cat adding more to the goal. You guys have 6 more to go, and you only have 9 minutes to do so. So hurry up, get them in. I want to continue on to Degen Power Hour. I'm sure all of the panelists do as well. All right.
And I will throw out a shout out for Kissy Cat. She's always awesome.
She is.
And by the way, Wick, I always love talking to you. I think you're one of the most rational right guys, left guys I talk to. So.
Man, why don't you guys get a room and get it over with?
You got a haircut like a centrist now.
Just give him a date. Go ahead. We got time.
Vibe.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
Who is Wick?
Vibe and Wick. They're definitely copacetic.
No, I don't agree with him at all, but always love talking to him. So there we go, Wick. What's up?
Hey, buddy. I appreciate the words. I don't want to lead anyone on, though, so sorry. I'm only in it for the ladies, but I do appreciate your words. And honestly, no homo or anything, but it does make me feel good that people actually listen, right? And I feel like we are in a situation in America.
Did you really have to say no homo?
Our brains turn off when we hear certain words, right? You hear a certain word or someone starts to say a point, and then you assume it's going to be something. And so your brain turns off, you stop listening, and you start formulating a response, right? And I think that that's harmed discourse. It's been great for dunks, great for debates, but I would argue that that kind of mistrust of our fellow citizens is part of the reason we're in the problem we're in. So thank you. I do appreciate that, sir.
Well, now that we're on a one-on-one,
far away. Okay.
Right?
Say one more time.
Now that we're on a one-on-one, because it's just you and me right now. Do you realize that?
It's true.
And we've got romantic music in the background, so that's a little extra. But hey, so do you not agree that we should look at this? I mean, I've seen the ICE things, right? But I want to build to that in our debate. So when this 2-on-2 is done, we have to actually start at the very beginning, right? We have to start at immigration. We have to look at what's illegal, what's not legal. What are we doing? What does the United States actually think about this? Minimum wage,
No, we don't.
Totally
We
fits in
don't
that
need to think about that
when
at
we
all.
actually say, okay, are we actually allowing immigrants in here? Are we not?
No, you
agree
don't.
with you
No,
that
you
I think
don't.
that this takes the conversation in a direction that does not solve the immediate problem. We have triage. We have an immediate problem, and that is ICE. ICE is acting in such a way that is putting fear into citizens, not just illegal immigrants, but to citizens. We're in a situation where I know people who look like they're from other countries, who refuse to leave the house without having some form of proof of their citizenship on them.
So
And
do you know the
shouldn't
percentage
have
of
to
that?
carry around, Americans shouldn't have to carry around to the park identification, their papers. We shouldn't live in a country where the government can force you, basically, to have papers on you at all times or else.
Well, I hate to tell you this, even if you're legal and there were no illegals, that actually is a law.
No, it's not, unless you are driving or operating a motor vehicle. If I went to the park right now without any ID, do you think I would be breaking a law?
So
nope.
No, answer my
yes
question.
and no.
I'm walking in a park.
No, I am
now
answering your
with no
question.
ID. Am I breaking
So if
the
you're
law?
suspected for something, you do have to show identification.
No, you have
as
to
long as they
identify yourself, which is different.
No, if they actually suspect you, you have to.
You don't have to have papers on you. I promise you don't.
No, if you're not suspected of anything, you don't have to have papers on you.
Even
you
if
are
you're
correct.
suspected.
No,
How
yeah,
would
if
I?
you're
How would
suspected,
that
yes,
even make
you
sense?
do.
How would I even know I'm suspected of something?
Well, they would have to show the burden of proof.
Okay, if the cops came to me and says, "Hey, we
This
there
is
was
going
a
in
guy
a
in
stupid
the area,
direction,
there's a
though,
report
including
of this
from Wick, but it says
handsome,
panel, so fuck it.
bearded genius that was going
And we know
around
that's never going to happen.
killing women, right, and stealing from them." Okay, that's not my problem. I mean, they have to. Even if I don't have ID on me, the only thing I have to do when they ask my name, I have to identify myself. I have to answer their question. But I don't have to have papers on me. I don't have to have ID on me. I don't have to have my birth certificate on me. The only time I need some form of identification is if I'm operating a motor vehicle or if I'm in some sort of like the airport or something like that. But like in a park or anything like that, I absolutely do not have to have ID.
No, you don't have to have ID. You just have to, if you are going to be detained, they do have the right to get your ID. That's it.
They do. They have the right to identify you if they detain you, but that's a different thing. That's not what you're implying. What you're saying. What I am saying.
I'm not implying that. I never was implying that.
Hold on. What I am saying, and my point that I'm trying to bring about with this, is there are U.S. citizens who look like they're from other countries, but who were born here, who now are afraid to go outside and walk in the park
because they look different?
ICE will mistake them for a legal immigrant, and if they don't have their papers on them, they will be...
Okay, how many times has that actually happened? How many times is because somebody looked like they were from Iran, that they got detained, and they were born in the United States?
Here, I'll give you a video.
Give me the statistics. Don't give me a video.
Okay, we don't have the statistics because ICE doesn't release that information because you know why? They don't have to identify themselves. There's no way we can track that because they don't have uniforms. They don't have badges. We can't track this information. But just because I can't, that's part of the problem where ICE is operating in a way that we cannot track them. So we cannot hold them to account when they do these things because they have obfuscated how they're acting, and we can't know if they're acting correctly or incorrectly. And it's very important when we trust the government and government organizations and give them power that we, the people, be able to hold them accountable and be able to track their actions up to a point. I do not think it out of line to ask that ICE, before they deport someone or detain someone, have to show ID themselves, have to identify themselves with a badge or an identification number or something. So if they do it wrong, we can hold them to account, just like regular police do. We ask this of regular police. Why should we not ask it of ICE as well?
I think we should. I mean, I think
Okay,
ICE should be
beautiful. You
completely
agree
responsible for
with
that.
me.
But,
Wonderful. I love it. I love it. This is why I love you, Vibe. Okay.
And I have seen some videos, by the way, and I am appalled by some of those videos. However, that's a 1% of ICE. It's not 100% of ICE, right? This is not the standard procedure. We can always find where humans are not doing the correct thing,
Who's been
right?
prosecuted for any of that?
But what I would tell you is that ICE is the standard procedure is anybody that doesn't look like the idealized U.S. citizen, white, tall, blonde.
Oh Lord!
Oh God!
Hey, look, I cited in the back chat 2 U.S. citizen children were sent on the mother's deportation flight to Honduras without the opportunity to speak with attorneys, leaving a 4-year-old boy with stage 4 cancer without access to his medication, according to the National Immigration Project. Gracie Willis, an attorney with the organization. That's just one example of the many that have been happening for the past 6 months.
Wait, they have enough money to go and treat cancer, but they don't have enough money to go and get some basic citizenship?
No, they were U.S. citizens. They were U.S.-born citizens.
U.S. born by who? What was their parents? Were they?
That doesn't matter. The status of the parents does not matter once the person is born in the United States.
We acknowledge that if you're spending money on cancer
law.
treatment, that's money you can't spend anywhere else, right? Like you need to pay that money in order to survive, and you can't pay it anywhere else.
Look,
they could have other use for that money if they have enough money.
So they should stop paying for their cancer treatments?
They should go have money to go and stay there to be able to go and live their lives.
Overpaying for their cancer treatments.
I understand where Vibe is coming from, that we should start from the bottom, that then it creates a whole conversation about the policy, about the paradigm, etc. Great. But right now, ICE is a state-funded terrorist organization. And they're acting like
one more time, and maybe we'll believe it this time. I'm sure if you say it with enough conviction and vitriol and hatred for America, we'll all fall to our knees and agree that Ditzo has found the key. He knows the racism of America, and we must submit.
Sasquatch, I know that you can't comprehend that
Look
criticism is not equal to hate.
Yeah, that's called you lose.
Hold on. That your rhetoric only works to a certain degree, to certain
I'm not
people,
the one here delivering rhetoric. You are.
No, you are with the rhetoric. Of course,
I've asked
rhetoric.
One of my points has been by asking you a question that you have yet to answer in a succinct, fashionable way.
What is the question? Say it again, because I've answered it in multiple ways. But you don't want to listen. You never want to listen.
I just want to say, I love animals. And the fuck it button sends a big 5, says you are impressively delusional. No citizen is scared of ICE. Glasses. All non-citizens have no opinion here. D's.
Shit, just wrong. Read the 14th Amendment.
Freedom of speech is applicable throughout the whole
Can we just take a moment? Can we just take a moment to recognize the Dunning-Kruger effect here? People who have no knowledge of the situation, no knowledge of the amendments, who've never even read the Constitution. I would bet money that this man has never even read the Constitution. Coming up with their $5 saying, "You're so delusional," guy who's cited all his sources, who's used examples, who's given a very, I think, strong argument onto my points. But I'm just going to tweet at you that no citizen is scared, and I said it, so that must make it true. Look,
wait, one quick question.
Fuck it button. Is that your name? Fuck it button. It's fuck it button. It's gonna be fuck it button. I don't know if it's fuck it button.
Wait,
but it is.
one quick question.
Why don't you just come on? Hold on. Stop. Why don't you just come on? It's an open panel. Just come on, and you can tell me why I'm impressively delusional. I'm sure that you'd be able to withstand the slightest pushback. I'm sure you wouldn't crumble or melt like a little snowflake. So please.
So, Wick, how do you resolve this situation?
Let me add in, right now, Duck was bought back up, but I need to boot somebody in order to do so. So
I'll go back for a little bit if you want to bring him up.
Oh, you didn't have to. I was going to ask Just Gerald, who paid to bring him back, if he wanted to select somebody specifically to boot in order to get Duck back up. So we'll leave it to the chat for Just to lay his claim and say, unless you gotta like do something.
I
But
gotta go pee. So
he gotta go poop. He gotta go poop. All
Wait.
right, so Rinyald to the back. Hold on just a
we'll be
second,
back.
and duck back up. And then I also have backstage 007, who's waiting patiently for his time to shine on
We got a
panel.
break.
So somebody has to be booted in order to do so. Kissy Cat says Umbreon is making the best points on panel. I agree. All dogs that show up on our show, or cats, I'm more partial to dogs, but the dogs always win here. And Speedy Lee with the big 5 says, deport all Chihuahuas.
Ow.
Yeah, little ankle
Racist.
biters. Little ankle biters. It's okay.
So Wick,
Can we go back to something real quick?
Yep.
Wick said a while ago that ICE is $1 billion over budget.
Mm-hmm.
If you scroll up the private chat there, you'll see that I posted something where for each year legal immigrants are in the United States, it costs the federal, state, and local area $150 billion to take care of them.
And how much do they bring the economy?
What's $150 billion minus 149?
How much do immigrants help the economy? How much do they give to our GDP?
Should illegal immigrants put into taxes?
Nonfon should know this. Nonfon. How much?
Immigrants or illegal immigrants, sir?
Immigrants.
Both.
Yeah, I mean, so it depends on it depends on what type of immigrant, obviously, and it depends on how you want to measure it. So I would just say, like, if you're concerned about like states, having to spend welfare on these immigrants or whatever, well, we should look at what type of taxes do these immigrants pay. And like the CBO has a really good study. Like they estimate that like the immigration surge under Biden actually would end up reducing the deficit by $900 billion over 10 years because immigrants
What's
just
$900 billion minus 150? Only Mr. Bill.
We're talking about illegal immigrants that have a very
I rest my case.
No, so again, like, first of all, when you guys say illegal immigrants, most of the time you just mean asylum seekers, right? And like you can, I agree, there are a lot of asylum seekers who are making fraudulent asylum claims, but asylum seekers get work authorization
we're talking about
after being in a country for 90. What? Sorry.
That's the ones we're talking about. We're not talking about the refugees. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about illegal immigrants who do not qualify for asylum and have not used the proper channels to enter the country.
How many? Okay, so when you guys cite these numbers, like 10 million people crossing the border or whatever, how many of those people do you think are like gotaways who like evaded border patrol versus are just claimed asylum and are in the country awaiting a court date?
Well, as I understand it, for the past like several years, they were all gotaways. They were pretty much just
absolutely not true. The vast majority of them, they were like, I think they were like,
right? Yes.
Catch and release implies that you are catching them and they get assigned a court date and they are released to the country.
Not dehumanizing, but yeah, they're like fish. You have fish, you catch and release it, which is all the fish that buy.
So my claim here is simply like you can disagree with that policy, and like I think a lot of people claiming asylum don't have valid asylum claims. I think they are just coming here to get a job. But my only claim there is that when you claim asylum and you're awaiting a court date, you get work authorization after being in the country for I think like 90 days, and those people pay taxes. They are allowed to work legally, like. They contribute to the economy, so they're not like there's no good evidence that they're a net fiscal drain.
Well, also just to be clear, you're legally allowed to do that.
Hold on. Let me get in there real quickly. Yeah. Put a link on the back of the chat. I'm just quoting from that link. Undocumented immigrants are essential contributors to the economy, following the American Immigration Council.org. In 23, undocumented immigrants households paid $89.8 billion in federal, state, and local taxes and held $299 billion in spending power. In total, immigrant, both legal and undocumented or illegal, so you guys call households, paid nearly $16.80 in every $100 tax dollars collected by federal, state, and local governments, funding a wide range of social services that benefit all citizens. So if anybody has data that counters this, please go ahead and bring it up. Tell us exactly how
the wages of the entire American economy, basically, and the wages go down. That means the rest of the people that are here legally, they don't have as much money to spend because their wages went down. If the illegals weren't here, guess what? Their wages and their spending ability would go up. Thank you.
So the whole point of your argument is xenophobia. It's because this guy's coming here illegally, we are making less money.
That's what we mean by one-track mind, sir.
And that's not. It's not. Where's the data proving that? Where's the facts of that proving that?
You don't actually have good data that immigrants are like decreasing native-born wages. Again, I talked about this earlier. We have studies on this. There's good economic theory behind it. Immigrants sometimes will decrease wages for unskilled workers like high school dropouts, and even then it's a pretty minor effect. Even George Borjas, who I think makes quite a few bad assumptions, but he's the biggest like anti-immigration economist, even he will tell you like, oh, wages are not hurt for anyone but high school dropouts.
Also, hey, like, listen, I'm not a big econ guy, but I'd imagine that if you're giving these like companies the ability to bring in more workforce, and if the economy is getting larger and companies are getting bigger, then that's also going to increase wages. That'd be my guess. I don't know, maybe not, but
let me cite again this particular link. Immigrants inject trillions of dollars of housing wealth in the United States. The vast majority of immigrants are not dependent on state governments to guarantee them with housing. In reality, they're putting back let me finish. They're putting vast sums of money into the housing market and revitalizing neighborhoods. 2 years ago, immigrant households paid over $167 billion in rent in the housing market, over $6.6 trillion in housing wealth. So again, where's the data that represents all those things that you're saying, that it affects the local economy, etc.? It increases it. It injects into it. So again, the consideration on the economic analysis of legality or illegality is irrelevant.
And speaking of who's got an echo? Someone's got an echo going on. But speaking of money, JB says, bye, Ditso. And M. Dave, where you been? Sends another 5 to solidify the boot with a full 2 minutes backstage, Ditso. Hang tight. And then a sarcastic Warlock says, all illegal immigrants can stay after serving 2 years in a labor camp for the purpose of character assessment and re-education. Ditso would wash out.
Good question.
Another 5 added to Ditso for the sass. Go ahead, Wick.
Okay,
is that the gulag by another name?
Man or woman, I don't know, who just mentioned like 2 years service in a labor camp would get them citizenship or let them stay. Would that count for serving in the military? Because again, there are plenty of immigrants who use that as a path to citizenship, who serve in the military for a time in hopes to get a better chance of becoming a citizen, that are also being deported, right, by this administration. And that is shameful to me. And there's the story of the Afghan interpreter, who wasn't serving in our military, but served with us in Afghanistan, who interpreted for us, who put his life on the line. And we promised him, okay, we're going to keep you safe. You can come here. You can have asylum. That's been stripped, and they're going to deport him. And I think that's shameful. I do.
I agree. And I shed a single tear in the shower for that man.
You're up to 20 minutes in the back now.
I want to hear from 007.
Go ahead, 007.
So, what you were saying about it not affecting wages, or only affecting wages for high school dropouts, why the fuck should high school dropouts have their wages reduced because a bunch of immigrants have come in? I used to work in, I'm a college and a university dropout, and I used to work in construction, and I had a short spell. I had a serious car accident. Was in hospital for a long time, and then was in prison. And then when I went back to construction, the wages were less than half of what I'd been earning before because of immigrants. So,
I mean, it's just a
why is that okay?
Yeah, it's just a question of costs and benefits, right? So if we're weighing the costs and benefits of immigration, well, let's look at, some of the costs they have, like, high school dropouts wages go down like 1%. It's like, okay, let's compare that to the benefit. Well, our working age
50%,
population,
not 1%, not one. Didn't you hear me?
You don't.
I said 50%.
Yeah, I'm not gonna,
how do you know that the 50% decrease was immigrants?
Well,
right.
I guess it must have just been a
That's what I
coincidence then.
figured. Yeah, that's what I figured. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Must-
exactly,
must have
you
just
don't have
been
very
some
good evidence that.
coincidence.
First of all, I think if we look holistically, construction wages or whatever have not fallen 50%. I don't think there's evidence of that in the first place. But second of all,
do you live in
still have to
England? Do you live in the UK? Do you live in the UK?
I don't live in the UK now.
All right, so you don't know fucking
I'm not
shit
familiar
then,
with
yeah.
the UK
This
data.
panel's
okay,
about
so
the
maybe,
US.
maybe
You don't know anything.
Like,
This
Mate,
panel's
don't-
about the
you
US.
don't
Hold on,
wanna
no, this
talk
is
about-
important. This is important. This is important, right?
You don't know
There
anything
are
about the UK.
other
so don't.
countries that
This
have
is about
different
Donald Trump.
issues in America right now. I can't speak to those countries. I just don't know. So that might be true with England, with the UK, but it's not true for here. That's all I know.
Well, I know that what I'm seeing in the UK is a complete change of demographics in towns and villages, in rural settings and stuff. Complete change of demographics. Now, England's a lot smaller, obviously, much smaller than the US, but we've been dealing with this illegal immigration for the last 20 years or something, and we've got I don't know how many over there now. Now, for them to do that in America is going to be a lot more difficult, but it seems like over the last 5 years, there's been a massive increase, and you've had a lot of Muslims and stuff moving in. This immigration, I'm the result of immigration. My granddad fought in the Second World War for the Germans, got captured by the English, stayed over, had an affair with my nan. My mum was born, and here I am. I'm a quarter North African, so I'm the result of immigration, but not illegal. It wasn't illegal immigration. He was captured, he was shot down, he was captured, he stayed in hospital, and then he stayed on legally afterwards, after the war. Immigration is a great thing, man, but under no circumstances whatsoever, ever, is illegal immigration a good idea. The British Crown has used it as a tool for basically color revolution to destabilize. They've been using it for the last 200 years all over the entire earth.
I don't think
Beautiful
that's
monologue.
true. I think that the idea that there's some, first of all, that the government would be competent enough to pull off a plan like that beggars belief. I just don't
government
think
do what they're
government can
told to
that
do.
well.
No, government do what they're told to do. If you think the government
Who tells the
thinking
government
of
what to do?
any of their plans at all, they're not. They're doing
Okay,
what they're
Can you
told
be
to
very
do.
clear
tells
with
the
what you're
government what to
saying?
do?
What group is doing this? If not the government, what group is doing this and why?
I have a feeling I might know.
I don't know, but sarcastic warlock says my labor camp is not a gulag, sir. It's a tortilla.
It's
Now I'm
me.
kind of
I'm the one doing it.
hungry.
I had a tortilla actually for dinner. It was delicious.
Me too.
Actually, I have some guacamole and tortilla chips upstairs. I might be
Adam,
inclined to go
this
get
is
some here shortly.
Immigration got you that. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, I'll
right?
get
That's
some
cultural
salsa
mix.
too.
That's cultural
Let's do
mix.
it. And Ryan's
Sure,
still
they can
hanging
do
backstage. He's got 23 minutes left with all that time you guys were adding on. Poor Ryan, 23 minutes. You can buy him out right now. Buy him out.
Wick, to answer something you said before, you asked for an example of a high case where a immigrant or like someone was deported or denationalized because of like rapping about terrorism and stuff like that. There's
For
been
rapping,
several,
not about terrorism, just for rapping.
there's several Canadian
Rapping about support of a terrorist group.
black rappers that have been deported back to Canada and lost their right to stay in the U.S. because they've been supporting like gang or
There's
gangs and stuff like that.
Just
There's
through the
a lad
raps?
there's a lad in the UK as well that's been put in prison
Hold on.
for a rap about he was rapping in Arabic, I think, or either Arabic or Hebrew. I think it might have been Arabic though, about the Palestinians. He didn't even understand what he was saying, and he was put in.
So
been
the UK doesn't have the same
done
speech
for it.
protections.
And I don't know about the UK. I can't speak to the UK. I'm sorry, but to talk to you, Evan, when were they deported?
Like from what I've seen, there was a case in 2010 for I forget his name, but it was something.
I disagree with the cases. I think that was wrong. That the American government, if what you're saying is true, and I'm just going to grant you, if this was the reason they were deported, I think that's wrong and that's a shame. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't repeat our mistakes.
Wait, just to be clear, were they deported because of the rap lyrics, or were they deported because of gang affiliation?
I'd say it was a collection of things, like some of the stuff
They
that
also
tipped
killed
it
someone,
off.
so it's not comparable.
Like
Okay.
there's, I will say, for like rapping and stuff like that, a lot of rappers like gloat about the stuff they do, and it leads the police to go and say, hey, they have drugs if they're rapping about drugs. And
But if we're saying that one person shouldn't be deported for rapping along to a song, and then you bring up, oh well, there was another guy who another rapper who got deported because he was rapping a particular song, and because he was affiliated with like 3 gangs in Chicago. It's like that's a way different situation than the one that we're talking about.
I just want to say Ryan finally got back on. Somebody paid.
That's sexy.
The goat.
This goes down in Gauntlet history because it never works this way. So shout out to Alexander for the first
Thank you, Alex.
Ryan buyback, and also they said looking at construction worker wages in the last 5 years, they have gone up like 27%. I feel like 007 is a lying turkey.
Again, he's
007,
talking
are
about
you
the UK. This might be
lying
different in the
turkey?
UK. I don't know.
Well, the immigrants raised it 50%.
I haven't been in the UK for 12 years, so I don't know. In the last, I'm talking about 2004, 2005.
I mean,
in 2004, the immigrants raised the minimum the immigrants decreased wages by 50%.
When I went back to construction, I was earning 50% less than I was when I was in there before I had my car accident and went to prison.
You understand that there's
Well,
like
how do we
20
know that was
different
legal
factors that can contribute to your wage
Yeah,
being decreased, right?
quite possibly. But I also know that the construction sites were full and are full now. Like all of the subcontractors. For my friend works in construction. She's an RLO, regional liaison officer, who liaises between the contractors, the subcontractors, and the clients. And every single they're all immigrants.
Illegal immigrants or
the
immigrants?
only English people are the bosses.
Wait, hold on. Are they all immigrants or are they all brown?
No, they're all immigrants.
How do you know that they're immigrants?
They're Romanians.
Did you check their papers?
I can attest to what Double-O's talking about.
You mentioned earlier, like, oh, why do high school dropouts, wages deserve to be dropped anyway? And like, even if I take your argument at face value that construction wages dropped 50%, which I just don't think is true, and I don't think it's because of immigration.
I mean,
like,
when
the price of an input falls, production increases, right? Businesses make more.
I can attest to what 007.
Hold on, construction is an input to everything, right? So if construction wages go down, that means construction companies can construct more things, and that means businesses can expand easier. There's a good paper from 2020 in Minneapolis that finds it was looking at
reduce everybody's
came
wages,
over.
man. Why don't they just reduce everybody's wages so they can bring the cost of everything down?
That's not in a second, but again, this paper from Minneapolis in 2020 found that like they were looking at immigrants who came over who don't have a high school degree, and they found like these immigrants do take more from welfare. Oh god damn it, Coder, rip.
Okay, so I apologize. I was gonna wait. I was just gonna let that sit there, Nonfon, but since you did stop, thank you. I appreciate it. They already were shooting the shots, and it wasn't enough yet to match the 50 that came up. But the full 100 here at the Gauntlet.
Would you like one sentence?
And yeah, I will. Let me bear with me a second. So Golly gave a full 100, which here is a full boot. However, we can give it a few minutes. I'll after you say your thing, we'll give it a few minutes, and somebody can buy it back. Okay, they can match the boot. It does have to be a full 100, but they can match it and buy you back up. But outside of that, that does mean you are done for the evening. So.
Yeah.
Presuming nobody's going to do that, Ryan, I will give you the floor to say your goodbyes.
Well, it's
Unless
been a
somebody-
pleasure.
Oh yeah, play the dog. Play the
Here's
boy.
Umbreon.
You're
He's
weak.
excited.
That's a gorgeous dog, man.
Oh wait.
thank you.
Holy!
Wait, what?
You're back
Yo,
in the game.
Alexander.
Oh
No
shit!
way.
You're universally hated. Congratulations, Coder, bro.
Wow, that's
Shut up.
another
well.
second. I
Oh,
thought you were
Diddy,
a
bro.
goner for
Me
sure,
too. I thought it
Ryan.
was over.
I
The
really
dog.
thought. I
Sarah
really
owes you a
thought.
soy latte now. So Sarah owes you a
Well,
soy
the thing,
latte
I
now.
mean, the thing I was going to say, I didn't even realize Evan wasn't still up here, but I was going to call him out for calling Mamdani a radical Islamist. I thought that was a insanely racist and unnecessary.
Well, he is a communist. I mean,
I don't think he's a communist. I don't think he's a radical Islamist. I think it's insane to say. And well, we got
you didn't
so I
see the
am
dance
once
they were
again
doing?
excited,
Oh
but-
my god!
Again, here's Umbreon. Look, if you guys look, obviously people have very strong feelings about me, either way, positive or negative. People have donated a lot of money to see me go back and forth tonight. So if you want to check out me and Umbreon more, you can go to my channel, Radical Coder, like and subscribe. Make sure you support Sarah at the Gauntlet and on the Raging Tomato. Much love to her and most of the people on the panel. Thank you all.
Most of the
All right,
people.
hang.
Most of the people.
I'll give it a couple minutes, Ryan, backstage. If anybody chooses to revive, they've got a few minutes to do so. If not, we'll say goodbye. Okay. Wow, that's crazy, Alexander. You threw me off there
$300.
on that one. You threw me off there. Hardcore. I've never seen Ryan get bought back up, and I especially haven't seen him get bought back up after a full boot. And while we're on that, and then after this, I'll hand it back to you, Nonfon. The Incredible Hawk says with the Big Ten, why do libs only seem to get upset at people who try to enforce the law and never the people who broken it or enabled it in the first place? Like the Biden admin and his migrant caravans. And before you answer anybody, Ryan, you not only are bought back, sir, but you got an
$500.
extra layer.
$500, girl.
Damn.
Holy.
That's
say,
insane. Rin,
John,
what are you
what
doing,
you
buddy? Your
Coder,
mind
I think
is
you should get a
whale,
word.
okay?
You need to
I'm
deliver
little
a
jealous
speech.
tonight, but that's okay.
What does Alexander like about Coder?
We like you, Rin.
What-
No,
what do you like
support.
about him?
Well,
Great,
earlier,
but-
Alexander said it wasn't about. Hold on, and I missed it because it was a thing here. He said because we hit the boots, but he said couldn't care less about Ryan just ruining JB Peltier's night. Also, 2004, and that question was to you, Mr. Bond. At least that's what the chat is calling you, 007. And then I stupidly said, "Who's Mr. Bond?" Not thinking of the 007.
It's double. Oh.
I think this is just good advice, it's a good demonstration of how being a grounded, polarizing figure can be very beneficial. You know, I encourage people to speak their truth in spite of the haters and losers who want to silence you. Just stay strong and like hold your ground, because you know it always it comes back around. You know, and I appreciate everyone who's supporting the channel both ways.
Thank you, Ryan. I do appreciate it. I know you obviously are benefiting in other ways, but you being here all the time always helps me out. You are a very strong support network of the show. And Evan Lord says, and Nonfon, I know I interrupted you a minute ago, so I will allow you to finish your thought bubble, and then we'll put you to the back. Kicking out Nonfon because he thinks humans are purely economic units. Globalists and metropolitans are evil for their host countries. Go ahead, Nonfon, spit it out, and then you get 5 in the back.
Yeah, I love globalism. Globalism is the best thing ever. We should have open borders and free trade with every country ever. But real quick, okay, last thing, finishing my thing. Okay, there's a good study, 2020, Minneapolis, looking at immigrants who came over without a high school degree. They find that although they did have negative, or they took more from benefits and taxes on directly, when you account for the indirect effects they have, because as I mentioned earlier, you know, if they reduce construction wages, let's say, just accept that argument. Construction's an input for everything. Businesses can build more things, and that added activity actually it makes them net fiscal contributors. So accounting for the indirect effects, they actually contribute I think it's like $700 annually to the government.
Link the study.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
Fair enough. All right, Nonfon, 5 minutes in the back for you, sir.
Can I say two things real quick?
Yeah, of course.
So the first thing is that I think it's funny that conservatives will make an economic argument against immigration, and then whenever somebody gives an economic argument back, they just call them a globalist and say that like people aren't money. Don't make economic arguments about immigration if you don't want them refuted. And then the second part is that to respond to the one dude who said, "Why does it seem like all liberals just want to criticize people enforcing the law?" The problem is that the person who is enforcing the law is also breaking the laws in order to enforce the laws. The invocation of the Alien Enemies Act was probably illegal. The way that he was going through it was absolutely illegal. There's like a myriad amount of like injunctions that are being put on the president and pauses that are being put on the president. So that's why.
Has the courts ruled on that yet?
Yep.
For you to say it's illegal?
Yep. JGG versus Trump and WMM versus Trump. Go read.
Have they been settled already?
Yep. Supreme Court rulings.
Thank you, Rick.
Said he couldn't use that?
Huh?
Oh, sorry.
The Supreme Court said he couldn't invoke that act?
No, it wasn't criticizing the invocation. It was criticizing the deportations using the Alien Enemies Act because they were robbing people of their due process rights.
Well, just the other, was it 2 days ago, yesterday? Whatever it was, Supreme Court just said he could go back to quick deportations.
That was a separate case. That was about third country deportations. That had nothing to do with the Alien Enemies Act.
But it is also a disturbing precedent.
Okay, I think I'm going to the back.
And no, you're not. Or did another one come in? Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm confused.
So a duck, goose, add to Nonfon's time. Nonfon, I already added it in. You got 10 more minutes back there. And then Rinyald, you got 5 in the back, sir. Enjoy it. Keep Nonfon company.
And I can attest to 007, what he was talking about. Back in 2010, the last time I hired an outside contractor where I worked, same crew I hired every couple of years whenever we had big jobs. In 2010, their quote unquote unskilled labor, which was your cleanup or to carry pieces here and there and drop them off, was all non-English speaking individuals. And I talked to the boss of the crew and asked what was going on. He said, we picked these guys up for half of what we had to pay our regulars. I'm going to make you into some Panda Express if you don't shut up.
I tell my dogs that too. I'm like, I'm going to Panda Express your ass. Chinese food, what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna, gentlemen, I'm gonna step away for just a moment. I am being paged upstairs to my daughter. I imagine you can all
Sasquatch has got it.
Manage this. Yeah, Sasquatch is in charge. I'm sure you'll be fine. If there's boots or anything, just if you get booted, just shut up for a couple minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So, is there anyone up here who?
I just want to make something clear right quick. I have unlimited power, and I'm not afraid to use it. So go ahead.
Yeah. So is there anyone up here who still thinks that undocumented immigrants do not have the right to due process?
I don't actually think anyone's made that statement tonight.
Yeah,
I did. I did.
Chuck, I'm sorry, Chuck. My bad. Chuck's talking napalm and bullets. I mean,
they broke due process when they crossed the border illegally. Therefore, they get no due process.
Let me ask you, Chuck. Do criminals, people who rape, murder, and steal, do they deserve due process?
American citizens?
Anyone.
American citizens?
Everyone.
Oh, my tummy hurts.
Due process.
If they're not a citizen,
let me start at the basics. What is due process?
The right to have the charges brought against you. You walk through the steps, through initial charges and court process and all that.
No. Right to an attorney.
Put simply, is the idea at its basic level is that you will be notified of the charges against you, right? The government will tell you why they are doing the thing to you. And you have a chance to answer those charges and to say, no, actually, I did not do X. I am not X. Or there are extenuating circumstances that should clear up my X. What that looks like depends on the circumstances. So due process for an illegal immigrant is different than for a citizen, and it's different from if you are sued in a civil court versus if you are brought to a criminal court. When we talk about these things, when it comes to due process for illegal immigrants, I think that they have less when we send them to their home country and just release them than they should if we send them to a foreign prison, which is what the Trump admin has done in many cases. That's my problem here, is that we are sending people to prison.
Okay. Are we sending border crossers, or are we sending convicted criminals to another prison?
Not convicted criminals.
The problem is there's no process to determine which one, Chuck. That's the problem.
They sent that lad that had the hairdresser lad that had the two crowns, a crown on his wrist,
no trial,
one for his
nothing.
mum and his dad, and he got sent off to Venezuela or wherever it was. He got shot. He didn't even come. Yeah, he'd left there because he was gay and he was seeking asylum because he was being persecuted because of his sexual preference. I mean, that when I heard about that was, I think that sucks, man. There's some people getting. It sounds like there's too many people getting caught up in the net that maybe shouldn't be in the net, right?
And if the administration would just kind of take their time a little bit more and follow the legal processes that were in place and stop trying to bend and break them, then we wouldn't have to deal with stuff like that.
True. That's just true. This is my problem. Like, look, the government, when they make a mistake, well, let me just ask you guys, if the government gets it wrong, should they have to make that right? If the government makes a mistake, should the government be responsible for fixing that mistake? Just as a basic level.
One would think so.
Yes, that would be the ideal, right? So when the government makes a mistake and sends someone to a foreign prison without due process, I am advocating that they should have to make restitution.
I'm so hungry.
By bringing them
my
back
God.
and giving them whatever process, whatever sentence we want to give them, or whatever charge we're charging them with is due, and then act accordingly. Like Abrego Garcia, they brought him back because
he's on his way out.
Hold on, let me finish. The Supreme Court acknowledged what the government did was wrong. They violated his rights. And so they brought him back and they are hosting a trial. If he's found guilty in that trial, by all means, put him away, send him away. I don't care. But the important thing is that he has the chance to have a trial because, again, they're not just deporting him to another country.
Are you talking about
prison?
What he's in Tennessee jail for right now?
I don't know what jail he's in right now.
He's in Tennessee, but I was just reading an article yesterday, that as soon as if he makes bond or gets released on bail, that ICE is going to pick him up and promptly deport him.
And they can do that as long as it's not to El Salvador.
Right. I don't think it'd be El Salvador. I think it's
They
Sudan.
can't El Salvador.
I think he's going to Sudan or Zimbabwe or one of those countries.
I want to add something real quick to that. I think it's really important to note that with the Abrego stuff, like Trump was very clear that for months that he could have brought him back and was deciding not to, and it's only because of the courts and extreme heavy political pressure from the left and liberals who were saying, hey, this is fucked up, this is unconstitutional, this is bad, and were very loud and critical. And MAGA was just lying and standing Trump for as he did this illegal act over and over and defending it. And so I think it's really important to acknowledge it.
I think you're taking a lot of credit.
Trump didn't just hang on. I'm almost done. I promise. Trump didn't just decide like, oh, I'm going to follow the law. He was actively trying not to follow the law, and it was because of political pressure from people like us.
And the pressure had ended for about
supporting the courts like us.
Situation. The pressure had ended. The left kind of gave up on that story for about 2 or 3 weeks. What happened was we found out more information about his crimes and everything, and therefore we wanted to basically troll that information and say, this is the guy you wanted back. Look at all the other stuff that we've got him down for and everything. Here, you really want to have a court?
Yes, I would give a court trial to the devil himself because that protects my rights, protecting the shield that keeps
He had
Me
2
saying
trials,
is
Wick.
also
2 trials that said
not before he was deported.
Yeah, wait,
Yeah,
hold on,
and
Bill.
hold on. The result of that trial was to be given an order, a withholding order, so that he wasn't deported to El Salvador. Had
And
they
then they
deported him
violated
to
it.
Venezuela or another country, we would having a different conversation. But that's not what
It would still
they
require
did.
a hearing, though.
They admitted, the government admitted they messed up. They made a mistake. It was a clerical error. And they did it by mistake, violating the due process that he originally received in those first 2 trials.
Yep.
Should he
The
have been in
government
country?
admits that.
No, he should not have been in the country.
The 14th Amendment. They have due process anyway.
Check out your Supreme Court information on that. But anyway.
I can cite you the literal
agree.
case that they
They-
ruled on for
Yeah, we're
Abrego
talking about
Garcia.
Abrego
They ruled it
Garcia.
was illegal.
Explicitly. And they even said that like the justification that Donald Trump's administration used to deport Kilmar could be used to deport anyone, even U.S. citizens, without due process. This is explicitly written in the 9-0 Supreme Court ruling regarding Kilmar.
You're cherry picking a piece of the dissenting opinion.
No, that was the
No,
majority
9-0.
opinion.
It was 9-0. There is no dissenting opinion, dude.
The ghost that dissented.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure. Yes.
So I have a question.
Hold on. There's been several rulings on this. There were dissenting opinions in some of them, but the one he's referencing, there was none.
Can I ask a question? It's going to be kind of a lengthy one, so I need people to go on a journey with me.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on. We're gonna do this right. If it's a lengthy one,
It's not that lengthy, but it's like relatively okay. So there's these guys, right? And they are from where? Oh my God. Okay. There are these people. I think it was Venezuela. They were from Venezuela, right? They were illegal immigrants, but they were not able to be expeditedly deported, right? So Donald Trump has the idea to sign the Alien Enemies Act, right? To basically expedite their removal. Before he signs this proclamation, these people are being rounded up and they're being put on planes, and they're trying to be shipped out of the country as fast as possible without the ability to appeal to any outside body, like a lawyer, like anybody else. This is, by the way, they're detained before the proclamation of the Alien Enemies Act even becomes public, okay? So they're not given the ability to reach out to a lawyer. The only reason that this person named JGG was able to reach out to a lawyer was because his plane broke down and they couldn't get him out of the country quick enough. So this demonstrates that the Trump administration not only wanted to get these people out as fast as possible, but they also wanted to mitigate their ability to challenge any of the claims that the government was just unilaterally making against these people. Do you think that's appropriate? Thank you.
Before anybody answers that, somebody asked in chat, are those shoulder pads?
It's a new shirt, okay? I haven't tried it on. They're a little big. The shirt's really small. I don't know what this fit is, but
I'm sorry. I've been thinking about who was the reporter for the Ninja Turtles, April O'Neil. I've been thinking
the new shirt. Listen, $10 is $10. It's pretty.
I'm just saying.
Rinyald, JB Peltier didn't like the fact that you came out with a full mouth and yapping.
I wasn't expected to be put up on the giant screen, okay?
But you were talking with your mouth full, sir.
That's
so
true.
you have 5 minutes in the back. Nonfon only has a minute left, so we'll trade you out here in just a second. All right.
Before you drop me down,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Please, conservatives, please answer that question. Please. Okay, thank you.
They will. Absolutely.
Do they remember the question?
No, I wasn't listening. I was talking.
Okay, well, hold on.
Okay,
Ask it.
I don't know what it was either.
No, hold on. This is my
I'm not
larger
sure.
problem. This is my larger problem.
They had a
with these
presumption on it also.
conversations. And this is the asymmetry of it. Had I not answered one of Sarah's questions or one of the audience questions or even one of your questions, you would have lambasted me. Look, he's dodging. Look, he's not even paying attention. But you guys can just ignore all the points we're making. And
He presupposed something in his question, so why should we acknowledge a presupposition?
Is what bothers me. The hypocrisy is what bothers me. Well, go on.
Why should we acknowledge his presupposition that he had in his question?
What did he presuppose? Be more specific.
I forget all the question and everything, but at the end or whatever, he made a claim or whatever that could not be backed up with just a basic claim. Like,
What was the claim?
I don't remember every single word.
know,
Or
so I
remember.
I made a presupposition. What was it?
You don't know what the claim is.
Bring him back up if you want to.
Back up.
Do you want me to recap it for you?
Give the claim, Rinyald.
Wait,
what was the
yeah,
claim?
what was the presupposition?
Go. Ask
doesn't
last
know.
part of your
Okay.
question.
So there's this
Given
group of
this,
there's this
then
group
that.
of Venezuelans, all right, and they're being rounded up before the proclamation of the Alien Enemies Act has even been signed by Donald Trump. They're being put on the plane to be deported as quickly as possible without giving them the opportunity to appeal to a lawyer. The only reason that they were able to appeal to a lawyer is because the plane broke down. Is that appropriate?
No, yes. You said something else after that.
I sure shit didn't.
Yes,
I
good.
don't know
Yes, you
what
did.
question you listened to, but it wasn't mine, I don't
You
think.
had something.
Well, answer this question then, Bill.
Trump. What was it? What did he say? 007.
Trump had signed. He was just about to, or hadn't yet signed, but was going to sign the aliens thing.
The Alien Enemies Act.
It hadn't been made public right yet, and
well, I don't know if we don't know if he signed it, but it's sure it wasn't a public proclamation.
True.
So the Alien Enemies Act shouldn't have been in place, but he was rounding people up to deport them as quickly as possible anyway.
Right, and the only reason that they weren't shipped off was because their car broke down or something.
The plane that was going to ship them off to El Salvador broke down.
Right, so that gave them a little bit of recourse, gave them a little bit of time, obviously, to say, hey, what the fuck's going on here, right? I'll answer it personally. I'm not conservative. I'm not a political person. I'm an anarchist. I don't agree with government, but I don't agree with that either. You know, there has to be a fucking happy medium. But we're dealing with.
Did everybody get what they needed from Rinyald?
Yeah.
I didn't get an answer to the question, but I mean,
well, they're going to continue marching through it. But I think we got the position from you. So yeah.
Bill, do you have like a caretaker or someone who can help you with the question?
Are you ageist? Are you ageist? Are you afraid of my age?
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
I am.
I'm sorry. I guess you're not only
sorry, boomer.
Just you're a sexist. And ageist.
I'm catching strays. I'm old too, radical. You know that, right? I'm an old guy.
Hey,
you're not that old.
Not that far either. Okay. I'm already like
friendly fire, blue on blue. Okay.
Look, it is what
I'm
it
already
is.
like looking at
geriatric-
retirement. You know what I mean?
What is it? What's the word? Geriocracy? It must be dismantled. Okay.
It's okay. My average audience is between like 35 and 45. So we're all okay here. We're in a safety zone. We're surrounded by our peers. It's good. We'll be all right, Wick. We'll be all right. All right. Did anybody answer Rinyald's question?
There's too many holes in his questions to be answered.
Name one, Chuck.
The first hole he made was he wasn't sure if it was signed or not signed. It was the first statement he made.
He said
about the proclamation.
He specifically said it wasn't public yet.
Right, yeah, that was me.
Then he changed it.
Chuck, that was me that said that. I said I didn't know if it was signed or not signed. I couldn't remember.
I think we got to shut down all boomers coming into the panel until we figure out what the hell's going on. Okay, this is unacceptable.
No boomers here. I'm not sure if you know your generation.
Where did the plane break down at?
Why is that relevant?
Is this the same group that's sitting over in Africa at the moment?
No, the plane broke down like in America. Like these were people who were going to be deported.
Because there's another group that's sitting in Africa on their way to Sudan.
Let's back on target. Okay, back on target. So in the incident, he outlined what are the holes. You said there were holes. Name one.
Okay, the first one was he said he wasn't sure if the proclamation was in effect or not.
Well, it wasn't made public, so these immigrants they had no like how are you supposed to make like a habeas claim or whatever if there's no public proclamation of what you're even being deported under.
If he signed it, it is therefore law.
Chuck, it wasn't public. How did that?
It
a proclamation needs to be made public.
Published.
Yes, it does. What does a signed executive order do if it's not public? If no one knows that it's law?
They put it on the Federal Registry.
They didn't. That's what I'm saying. They didn't.
You think that the government it's okay to have secret laws that no one knows about?
No, I'm not talking about secret laws.
They hadn't put it on the registry
but
yet.
he wasn't. He didn't seem real sure in his story in the question.
So that's the
first
bullet
time
to this
out
question.
of the gate, he was bubbling words all over the place and couldn't even think about who or what it was.
I was trying to remember if they were
But he's
Venezuelans.
very well spoken.
What's that?
I don't know who Rinyald is, but this is my first time meeting you, sir.
Oh, I don't know who he is either.
Yeah,
Rinyald's
he
my
did
goat.
not mince his words. He was quite upfront with what he meant, and he made his point clearly. If you think his point has holes in it, I'm willing to hear you, but you got to give me something other than he may have not known about the public order signing, which isn't relevant to what he's trying to get through.
Yeah, I feel like the question was painfully clear, and the only answer that I've gotten to it is like some vague posturing that I made a presupposition that they can't identify. So, I mean, I don't know. That seems like the kryptonite question.
Well, it just you didn't seem to have any
I changed
facts.
my mind.
These
I am now
people
for intelligent
at this
tests
place.
I'm now for intelligent tests before people vote. I want that.
Okay, wait.
I think that we need it. You have to have at least 80 IQ. Okay? Or else you can't vote.
115.
Damn it.
Wouldn't go that
I'm out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry,
women,
Sarah.
Hashtag
women are
115 or higher.
okay? Women have a different scale. We're not judging you on your IQ, Sarah. We don't want to play chess with you.
Rinyald, were
But, you know,
they?
we're going here, and we have standards, and I think one of the standards should
I think
be
there should be a height
you need to have
requirement
at
too.
least 80 IQ.
Fuck!
Damn.
Six foot one or taller. 6'1" or taller to vote.
Oh, I'm definitely out.
That's
I'm
like
a whole foot shy of that one.
So I just want to
Okay, all right.
real quick to kind of build on the whole thing about the plane.
Do you
breaking
got
down.
the actual information, Ryan?
Sort of. Well, I'm referencing the opinion
sort
that I
of.
cited earlier regarding the Supreme Court, right? The 901. I just wanted to read this line because this is really relevant to the idea of the plane breaking down, right? So this was with regards to Kilmar. The government's argument, moreover, implies that it could deport and incarcerate any person, including U.S. citizens. That's most of the people up here, right? Without legal consequence, so long as it does so before a court can intervene, which is why the plane breaking down is what would like protect those people in that case, which is, I mean, this is a pretty important thing to contend with, right? Like if we have a precedent where U.S. citizens can be deported as long as they do it quickly, like this is incredibly dangerous, especially for people like us who are speaking out against the regime.
Also, just to be clear, the judge in this case ruled that there was probable cause for contempt because of the actions of the Trump administration.
And Stephen Miller was the one who pushed for them to do what they're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. No, I will agree with you there. I think he's doing a lot of the pushing.
Stephen Miller is
when we talk about
we got to get Stephen Miller out.
We got to talk about Stephen Miller.
I'm not a huge
Miller
fan of
fan.
Stephen Miller.
Neither is Trump, and neither am I.
Well, I mean, since
He's got his hand on the wheel, you know, he's
Well,
very
wait a
powerful
minute.
right now.
Because
play
Trump,
back up.
look, let's be real here. Trump's pretty old, okay? He's not all there, and he has a handler, and his name is Stephen Miller. Who's really running the country? Republicans.
Damn right.
Who's really running the country? Is
Well,
it Trump
Who
or
was
is
for
it
the past
Stephen
4
Miller?
years? Who was?
so I don't bog up the whole panel with that question. Just in case anybody in the chat is curious, look up JGG versus Trump Boasberg contempt ruling. It'll come right up. There's 48 pages detailing all of the information about this
Did
case.
you say JGG?
JGG versus Trump contempt ruling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll look that up here when I get off of.
Well, for
Okay.
you, I linked it in private chat, so you could.
Oh,
look at
thank
that as
you.
well. Yep.
Oh yeah, based.
Appreciate it.
I'll drop it in the gauntlet chat as well.
You just didn't seem real sure as you was asking the question, so it almost sounded like you were making the story up for the question.
Do you really think I would just make up a random ass story to?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right.
A lot of people, I don't care which side of the political spectrum they're on, a lot of people got a bad habit of doing that. Well, I heard
It's just a
Martha
very
say,
convenient.
Well,
I don't
luckily he
know.
cited the source, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
yet.
we could. Yeah.
thank
could
you.
just do it.
And I thanked him for it.
All right. Well, we can move on from the kryptonite question, but I feel like we've acknowledged that Trump was actually robbing these people of the right to a hearing based on whether or not they were deportable. Seems like pretty bad policy to me, especially when you get shot down in SCOTUS twice for it, and it's ruled that you have probable cause for contempt of court. Seems pretty bad, but I mean that's just me.
Yes, very concerning.
I
Does
think,
anyone
I
think
think
it's not
look,
concerning?
I want to.
Nuclear?
Can
Or
I
sorry,
just
go
say
ahead.
I haven't seen many of these, right? I haven't seen many of these Thursday throwdowns. So perhaps I'm just ignorant of this, but man, we just cleaned up, liberals. I
Yeah.
mean, we just cleaned up. They can't answer
That's
basic
right.
questions. We have swayed the audience. We have swayed many on the panel. I think we have done just a fantastic job, and in no small part thanks to me.
The
Honestly,
audience
I
ran
really
out of,
really,
the
really.
audience ran out of money
Thank
trying to get rid
thank
of
you for your
coders.
service, sir.
FYI. So
True. Wick really carried the liberals on his back for this debate.
You know what? It's okay. I do do what it needs doing. It's
Mhm.
okay. Not all heroes wear capes. Some
Yeah.
wear hoodies. Okay.
They're
Some wear hoodies.
They're hiding.
On that
Whereas
note,
Andrew,
on that
oh,
note, Sarah, I'm
Andrew-
going to say goodbye.
Andrew
Thank you very
Wilson
much
is
for having
still-
me.
Sure.
It's
Andrew
been a pleasure.
Wilson. Andrew Wilson is still hiding because he knows he challenged me. He said he would pay me $20,000 to go 3 rounds with him in a boxing ring. And he asked me for a date. I gave him a date, June 28th. And he has been conspicuously silent
tomorrow.
since then. It's not tomorrow. Well, it is.
Well, it is for me. I'm
Kind
in
of,
Florida, so,
technically, yeah.
East Coast
Technically, I
time.
guess it is if you're on East Coast. And he hasn't said shit, right? He hasn't said yes, no, maybe I need to push it back a little bit, discuss the venue. Nothing. Where are Andrew and Jim Bob? They're hiding because they're scared. That's what
Cowards.
It's a shame that, you know, immigration was the #1 issue for a lot of Republicans, and none of them are willing to come up and defend the agenda. That's kind of concerning. I don't know. The death of truth may be upon us.
We're the Gen Z men who were swayed like towards the Trump administration. We've got the geriatrics up here defending the regime.
Hey.
Even they're accepting. Even they're accepting that, you know, there's a lot of problems here. So I don't know. It seems like Wick said, a liberal win, and even from the left of the liberals, I appreciate these W's just as well. So,
And I even did it with my mouth full too. How about that?
Pause.
Of goldfish.
I was going to say, what was his
brain is
name?
so much in the gutter tonight. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Any Andrew fans out there, if you want him here, you got to go get him. I do not bother that man.
I have about 30 minutes left before I have to go, so you know.
Train for your fight.
Man, no. If he wants to pay me $20,000, we can fight tomorrow, right? I'd be okay with it, right? But I would like some time to train, like a little bit. If
Hell, just give me the money. I'll lay it out on the mat.
I mean, yeah, that would be the easy way, right? Like take
There you
20
go.
grand just for you to take a swing. Oh, damn, I lost. Oh, what a fucking pity.
Oh no, I guess I'll have to cry my eyes out with my $20,000.
As I'm walking to the bank.
True.
think of all the dental work we can get for 20 grand.
So is it stick or which? I can't hardly see it. Small on the screen.
You got to drink less, buddy. It's WhickTV.
Wick. I don't drink, buddy.
Good.
On the phone, it's just super small. So what do you suggest the solution is?
Well, first of all, I think that what ICE should focus on instead of nail salons and Home Depot is actual violent criminals. So again, put ICE back to work. I'm not saying for abolish ICE here, right? Like some of the lefties might. I'm saying put them back to work getting actual criminals, actual violent gang members off of our streets. That's what I want, right? That's my first and foremost advocacy here. Then we need to look at some laws about how they can do things. I would be okay with a law in the books, much like Trump is trying to do with protesters not being able to mask up, unless there are extenuating circumstances, which I can imagine if you're like undercover or something, and going after like violent gang members or cartels. But in the normal course of events, you should not be able to disguise your identity. You should not be able to mask. You should be required to wear a uniform. You should be required to show a badge, and you should be required to have some sort of identification number that can be referenced. So if you break the law in the process of doing your duty, that you could be held accountable.
Also, just at the foundational level.
Are these not reasonable? Are these not just reasonable things? These seems eminently
They are
reasonable.
indeed.
Right and left can agree on these things. Assuredly.
Feel like even on the
Why
ground
are,
level.
Hold on, only Mr. Bill
What,
and
what
Chuck
if showing
are
your
gonna do-
face endangers your children? What if showing your face endangers your children and your wife?
That's
Then
part of the job.
what?
That's part of the job. We accept, as I was saying,
The
sorry,
job,
in the
but
beginning,
your
the
own
reason
safety is
why
part of the job.
military members
Your
have
wife's
to wear uniforms,
and
even though
children's
it puts them in danger,
not
and
part
the
of the
reason
job.
cops have to show a badge number because it puts, even though it puts them in danger, is because we give them an inordinate amount of power. And people with
They
that
can go
amount of
after and they
power
can call
need
IAA
to be held
get the police
accountable by
guy
the
arrested,
public.
not so that they can squat. They can have somebody go to their person's house. What's the word I'm trying to go after? Swatting. Trying to SWAT them and have police go after them at their
I'm
house.
asking that
That
their
continually
addresses be
happens in
made
Portland.
public.
That has happened multiple times in
I'm
Portland.
asking for a badge
ICE
number.
agents.
Are you arguing
Huh?
for a secret police? Is that the solution here?
Yes, that's what he's arguing for, a secret
No,
police.
no.
It seems
If
like
they
you are.
want the number, what the ICE people usually do is say, "We're taking him to this place. Come and find out about him at that place." And at that place, where it's a lot safer to be able to communicate between people, then they can sort of get the information that they need. Not when they're surrounded by 30 people that are yelling and screaming at them.
Should
How is that a
police
safe thing to do?
should police be required to show their face? Police officers?
Yeah.
No, not even show their face. Have a badge. Should police require, if the police come to your house, knocking your door, should they be required to show a badge?
Okay, let's try to meet halfway here.
No. Just answer that question.
I'll give you this. Well, as long as that number does not associate to their house.
Okay, ICE doesn't have to do that, even if it doesn't associate to their house. I'm not
And
asking
if there's no way that anybody can possibly find their house.
Hold on. If we disconnect that from their house, would you be okay with a law that said ICE should be required to show a badge to identify themselves? So a badge with their identification
where
number.
they work or
So
something
if
like
they
that.
break the law in the course of their duties, the people who the law was broken, right, can report them to the relevant authorities.
Yeah, they can show where they work as their station job at that point.
Not
there.
just,
Yes.
not just, but
not
something
where
to
they
identify
live.
them, the specific officer.
Yeah.
If we're talking about police or ICE.
Both.
Okay. Yes, same situation.
Yes. Okay, great. That is one thing that we can bipartisanly agree on needs to change because it's not the case now.
But it is the case now in many cities where that number associates to their house. There's ways people can find a way around and swap
fix
their
that.
house.
Fix that. That's a skill issue.
Then
Fix
call
that.
out the radical left that continues to do that. Yeah, I have not seen you call them out hardly at all. That continue.
You've never seen me call out the radical left for violence.
You don't watch Wick then.
Not to this degree.
bro, that's all he
As a
does.
radical left representative, he calls us out all the time, okay?
People get you guys think I get called a conservative
I know you're
constantly.
center left or whatever, but
Did you not see me? I was the first person.
You should not do that.
Hold on, let me give my bona fides here, bona fides, if you will. I was the first person, literally the number one guy, to call out Destiny after he made that gross comment about the fireman who was shot after the Trump rally. I was the first one to hold his feet to the fire on that, to have him on my show and say to his face, right, that was unacceptable. I have called out the left. I've called out Josiah from Pondering Politics. I've called out Econoboy for wanting to get rid of the filibuster and violate all these norms and things like that. To act as if I don't hold the left accountable just shows that you are ignorant of my content, which is fine. Not everyone has to watch me, but let's deal with reality here. And I'm just informing you all. When Biden was in power, I criticized him all the time. I think Trump is worse than Biden. And Trump is in power. Biden is no longer in power. So I'm going to criticize Trump more now.
I think that's honest. I think that's honest. Kokomo with the Big Ten says the right position is somewhere in between Trump and Biden/Obama. Trump is too strict, Biden was too loose, and Obama had a good pathway to citizenship.
I don't agree, but I think it's a reasonable position to hold.
I disagree. I don't think Obama
Yeah, we
did.
know you want to shoot him, so we know you disagree.
And Alexander, Ryan's new friend this evening, sends the big five, says, Mr. Bell, Mr. Bell, how the stupid do you know it's actually ICE and not some people posing as them to kidnap you?
I just got through saying, as long as they have a number they can give that does not endanger their children or something like that, then yeah, they can sort of give that
I
number.
think what we're saying is they're not giving that number though, and I think part of the reason is, and I mean to be honest, part of the reason is that they understand that a lot of what they're doing right now is illegal, and they don't want to face the consequences later on. That's what they're afraid of.
Where's it illegal?
The illegal kidnapping of people they're doing right now. They're without presenting any sort of ID. I mean, it's
what's the federal
There are
law?
going to be consequences for this. Like,
what's the federal law for ICE agents? I don't know what the federal law is
you
on
think they
ICE
don't have to
agents.
show ID?
And do you know what the law is? It's impersonating a federal officer, very steep. So if they're out there doing that,
so they won't do it.
Take a picture of them. They can go after and say, "Hey, this person might be impersonating an officer." FBI or ICE, could you look into
what do they take a picture of? Some guy with a black mask on? How do you identify the person?
It has been happening.
Okay, we have videos, right, of people photographing ICE agents and those ICE agents pulling a gun on those individuals and detaining those, wrestling to the ground and handcuffing them, right? ICE does not want
resist arrest. What are you supposed to do when you resist arrest?
No, for trying to film them.
Trying to film them.
Yeah. Because they don't want to be on film because they know there's going to be consequences.
Because maybe their buddies have been swatted before by similar people.
No, they know there's going to be legal consequences.
So you aim a gun at them for trying to take a picture of you, and that's your solution? Taking a picture of them is your solution to fight the fake secret police people?
And put words in my mouth. Quiet.
What did I mischaracterize there?
Well,
please?
no, let me just ask. Let me just ask a basic question for you.
Did I say that? No, I didn't say that.
That
Mr.
was
Bill,
the
please, a very basic question for you, sir. Do you think it is reasonable to expect that police, military, and other agents of law enforcement, ICE, be held to a different standard, right, than the general public? Held more accountable because they have more power. Do you think that's a reasonable thing to ask?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we hold them accountable if we can't identify who they are?
I just said you can identify them by that number as long as they're associated.
ICE
that.
doesn't
I don't think they should have to, but if you really want to compromise thing, that's the compromise I'll give you. Have a number. Say my number, ICE number is such and such. Say that's where the person's based. Go to that.
Well,
questions about it. Go to that base.
Then we're in agreement on that. Thank goodness, and I appreciate you for agreeing me on that. But this is just the tip of an iceberg of problems that ICE is doing right now that is making it harder. It's making it more dangerous for ICE agents. You understand that, right? Because people don't know if they're actually law enforcement agents. People are more likely to do violence towards them because they think they're kidnapping people.
When they have an ICE badge and they have a suit that says police or ICE
showing badges,
or
that's the problem.
CBP all around them.
Don't have that.
When they've got
unmarked vehicles, not showing badges, this is the whole issue.
Plainclothes officers.
When
they are not wearing badges. They are not wearing uniforms. They're in like. Have you seen these? Like they're in masks and they look like with like what looks to be like different tactical gear, but this is the same stuff you'd see going to paintball, like, or you'd see a gang member wear or something.
Or Charlottesville.
Right? And that's a problem.
Right. Let's try another compromise. Let's try another compromise.
Hold on. If I see 3 dudes in black masks harassing a woman on the street and I have a gun, what's going to happen? If I don't know they're law enforcement, if I don't know them from Adam, what's going to happen?
I go back to the question I was about to ask there before. If they come out there with a driver's license, Chuck, do you want to
if you had a gun and you saw 3 masked men who you don't know from Adam, who have no identifying badges, don't have police on their thing, anything, right? If you saw them dragging a kicking and screaming woman into a van, what would you do?
I'd be against
it.
What
should you do?
Be against it. You tell them, hey, please stop.
Thank God.
If I knew that they were ICE,
you don't know that.
You don't. Yeah.
They don't show badges.
Okay, if I don't know that they're ICE, and there's no way that I could possibly find out that they are ICE, like taking a picture of the license plate, checking it against
unmarked
the
vehicle, no
gone by
license
the time
plate.
you do that. They took her and she's gone. Right? You have moments to act. This is my reason I pointed this out is because most people, not most maybe, but a larger group than not might take some shots. This is why my argument is saying that the way ICE is acting is putting ICE in danger.
Caldy with the big 5 says, how do you feel about the Nashville mayor panel releasing ICE info?
I don't know.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
I'm
not familiar.
They published a list of local ICE agents, I do believe.
He's okay with that because that way you have all the information about the ICE person and everything. It's okay to have all the information. It's got to be public information.
That's exactly why he did it.
Exactly. But yeah,
you're right. We should have all the police
they don't
officers
care
never
about
identify themselves, never show their
information out
face,
there.
never show a badge,
It's
never have a
swatted.
license plate. They should just walk around in
don't
militarized
believe we should
clothes and
have
kidnap
secret police
people.
in America.
That's the.
I'm going to
the
make
police
that brave
system.
stance. I don't think America should have a secret police force.
Seconded.
I don't know,
Thirded.
Wick.
Yeah, of course not.
We do have a secret WIC force out there, but that's different. Okay.
That's right.
We
serve honorably.
I mean, even the undercover, I can't even talk. Even undercover cops, once the takedown is happening, all the badges come out.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Not with ICE.
now are they?
I wonder if there's got to be some kind of reason behind it, right? Like you don't just go like undercover. And I mean, I even know that Baltimore police, like they can't even do undercover necessarily anymore because somebody, a cop did get hurt that way. He was undercover. And before he could identify himself during like a raid, like there was a miscommunication error. And they happened to end up, like hurting someone that was not supposed to be on that side of the bullet. So it is dangerous. There's a lot of risk to it. You scare the people around you. You risk misidentifying. You risk the idea of posers out there, all of those things. But is the good greater than the bad? Is there an outweighed system in there in place somehow, or things to that nature? I don't think releasing personal information, especially if it's directly targeted, I don't think that's very wise. I mean, they don't send out lists of people who we're going after, do they?
I'm not asking that they give their like home address. I'm asking that they have something on them where they can be linked back if, again, they do something wrong and someone wants to report them for misconduct, that they can be linked back to their authorities. And if it is found that they have done something wrong, be held accountable. A badge number, some kind of identification card, I don't know, right? But something. Right now they have nothing.
Is the law right now? Do you know if the law says they have to be identified or they're allowed to act in this manner? Does anybody know?
Wick is saying that they shouldn't be able to act in that manner, not that they have any legal imperative to.
And Hector says legal consequences, they're getting doxxed. If they're not real agents, then they should face consequences. Mass invasion under Biden resulted in mass deportations. Blame the Democrats.
The word
Democrats.
The word
Never.
invasion
What is
has been
this
so
failure
corrupted.
to take accountability for one's own actions? Where is this failure to own your mistakes? Why is it that I cannot get conservatives to admit that when you make a mistake, you should fix it and not pass the buck? Whatever happened to people who saying, you know what, I'm in charge, I have responsibility. If something goes wrong, it's on my head. And this basic integrity, valor, and valiance that I think all leadership has failed at, but especially MAGA.
We got to be more like Jake Tapper, don't we, guys?
Trump
We gotta
be
be more like
US.
Jake Tapper, who ignored something for 4 years and then all of a sudden decided to write a book about something. Yeah,
we should
gotta
be
more like Jake
holding
Tapper.
Donald Trump to the same standard as Jake Tapper. Thank God.
Yeah,
but the Democrats
I'm
don't.
just gonna,
They're still going to say,
this
Jay
is kind
Cutler,
of,
thank you for your book. We didn't know that Biden was a senile old man for 4 years. Thank you for informing us.
I mean,
same talking
frankly,
points.
even Biden's like worst debate performance ever. If you actually look at the transcript of that conversation and ignore like the tone of and like the performance itself, like Biden was the only one on that stage actually engaging with the questions. He was the only one giving real answers and actually like responding to what was going on and describing real foreign policy, real national policy as well. And Trump was just absolutely embarrassing as usual and not speaking.
We destroyed Medicare. We destroyed Medicare.
Not in reality.
Yeah.
But people just heard Biden like make a gaffe about like stopping Medicare or whatever, and that's like the only thing people remember from that debate.
Transcript. We stop Medicare.
Also, the job of the president is to uphold the Constitution. I don't care what a bad debate performance looked like. Donald Trump is not upholding the Constitution. He said he wants to terminate it. Okay, there's one very simple job of the president, and it's not what Trump is doing.
Yeah, because I realize it's also
go ahead. Kokomo says. Thanks, Sarah. I enjoyed this debate/discussion. It's been fun. And I just posted another debate coming up on July 5th. 2 new people to the show. We've got Geeky Stoic versus RTP Talks, and they will be having this exact discussion. Are Trump deportations, I think, like good for doing more harm than good, something along those lines. But it's all about this very same conversation. And of course, that will go into open panel after the debate, but July 5th. So go hit that notification bell and set that one up if you really like this one.
I would like to.
Sorry,
I'm gonna go after this. I promise. I'm
Yep.
about to leave. Yeah. So, secondly, to plug, in 2 days, I will be up here debating Rob Noor on a bunch of different Trump topics, which will be a lot of fun. And yeah, I just want to say that this panel tonight raised over $500 just off the chaos that my presence alone stirred up. And I think that I think that speaks highly of me personally, and I think it also speaks that highly of Wick and the topic that he brought to the table tonight. But just to be clear, Trump's ICE is not just detaining people indefinitely for civil violations or deporting them without hearings. They're doing it while hiding their identities because they know that just following orders isn't going to save them when the legal hammer drops. They're using wartime laws to bypass the Constitution, surveilling political speech, and deporting people to countries they've never lived in, all while shredding due process and hoping that no one notices. But guess what, bitches? We noticed. I'm Ryan. This is Umbreon. Have a good night, everyone.
The GOAT. Thank
Good
you,
night, Ryan. Thanks for your time this evening. He actually got to stay on panel. Like
after $500.
I am still in shock. I am still like in awe. But yes, it took a little convincing from the chatters, financially convincing. But he actually got to stay on panel. That's impressive. Hector says, I wish Andrew Wilson or Rob Noor were here to put these overconfident Dems in their place. Look,
I love destroying both of them.
you guys know where to find Andrew and you know where to find Rob. They both have access to message me as well if they're minorly informed of particular things happening. However, I'm not going to be the one to bother either of them because that is not my job to bother people. Actually, it is, but not that way. So.
Just FYI, though, I got about 10 minutes. So if anyone in chat has something for me, you got about 10 minutes. Okay.
10 minutes. The countdown is on. Actually, I'm getting pretty sleepy myself. So
okay.
This was like a pretty, well, I didn't get in my nap today. My daughter, I got home from work and usually I'll lay down for like a good solid half hour and that helps get me through the rest of the night. But my daughter's like, Mom, can you please take me to do this thing at this place and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's my nap time. Like, you really, 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 really have to do this today. And she's like, please. And I'm like, okay. And then we get there and it took twice the amount of time that it was supposed to. So I got back and then I took her on a little dinner date too. But the point is I didn't get a nap. So I am getting extra sleepy, but yeah.
I want to make sure that this is addressed because I want to make sure that we all know that I am correct on this case. Somebody in chat, Steven, I invited him to come up and he didn't. I wonder why. said that I was lying about JGG versus Trump because it's a DC Circuit case and the Supreme Court threw it out in favor of Donald Trump. He's only saying that because he didn't read the Supreme Court case. The Supreme Court said that the appropriate jurisdiction to file it was habeas, but that the people who were trying to be ushered out of the country as quickly as possible had the right to a habeas petition. So it's exactly how I characterize it. And then it got brought back up in WMM versus Trump, the same exact case in a different jurisdiction. And the Supreme Court ruled again that 1 day isn't enough notice of your deportability. So, yeah, I don't know. Keep coping. Keep looking for different ways to where I'm wrong. I'm right. If you want to come up and argue, then feel free. Or if you want to schedule something with Sarah, I'll argue about it for an hour and a half.
Gladly.
Wick, I got a couple of questions for you.
Please, by all means.
So you're concerned about ICE agents' safety and, potential situation. I agree 100% with you in the situation. If 3 women or, Owen was being grabbed by 3 people, I'd do the same exact thing. I would go ahead and react.
Do what you need to do, right?
Yep. The safety would disappear. So, in the terms, now, what is your alternative to try to help mitigate that situation?
Uniforms.
Without that type of situation, pretending like it is a situation of undercover. Okay, what would be something that would help them in the terms?
Badges, uniforms, identification numbers.
Okay, would local law enforcement assist in that situation?
Depends on the situation.
Okay.
I don't know if it's appropriate for local law enforcement to assist when there's not really, when the risk of violence is low. For example, if they're going to a hospital or something, right? Then why would that, like the ICE agents? I mean, they can. I have nothing against it in principle, but like, I don't know. I think that an easier solution again is just identification numbers that are plainly visible that people can reference and see, or even just when asked to produce a badge, they must produce a badge containing that identification number. I think that's a simple change that we can make that would make it much easier and safer. It wouldn't be, obviously there's some there's just some danger in the job, right?
Yep.
And that you're never going to get rid of.
I hear that. Now, let me kind of go down the logic train here a little bit with you. So, in the state that I live, highway patrol and sheriffs, they typically are one unit, and they are situations, if they're on the freeways and such, that they require the local law enforcement to come and help them in support. They cannot do certain situations by themselves. Even in undercover situations, they are not allowed to do certain situations without local law enforcement being around and being able to respond. So now, given that type of scenario, what is going on? Do you think it's right that the local police and the local government are absolutely 100% refusing to help out in these situations that are putting the ICE agents in danger as well?
Sanctuary cities is kind of something I go back and forth on. I think that it becomes a states' rights issue at the end of the day. And so while personally, if I was in charge of a state, a governor, I would encourage my officers to work with federal authorities. However, I think the state should have the ability and power to make that decision for themselves. And I would not want to force on a federal level that the local and state governments must help out with a situation. Does that make sense?
I agree. No state should be forced to have to follow something in that situation other than our Constitution. Yep. So in that situation, but I'm just pushing back because now I'm going to just kind of say this. I love, sometimes when I come on here, Duck likes to think that I'm on the far right, and then I've had a few people think I'm on the left side. I'm right in the center. Okay. So the reason why I'm kind of arguing a point to this is that these states where these ICE agents have to go primarily are those areas, and they're putting extra danger for those agents regardless. Now, because they are not even willing to assist. Some officers are in those states are willing to help out, but their departments are refusing them to be able to do that. Doing so would be endangering or causing their job to be disappeared.
Okay. That is something, if you want to advocate for it, I wouldn't necessarily be against that. But I would say that the onus here and what is creating more of a problem is the way that ICE is behaving. And keep in mind, ICE doesn't go to the dangerous areas, right? They don't go to the cartels, to the gangs, and that's by design, right? Thousand immigrants, I think, either a month or a day or something. They have a pretty insane quota that the New York Post is reporting is just too much. It's lowering morale, right? So they are going for the easiest fruit they can find. We're talking schools, we're talking hospitals, we're talking court appearances where immigrants who are following the law and trying to make their asylum and immigration appearances. That's who they're going for. I don't think that they need to behave in such a manner under these conditions. What's the guy in the hospital going to do?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think
so that we don't have a disagreement here, really.
Oh,
I mean, we can argue on the nitpick.
No, and the only reason why I came up was I wanted to actually have the conversation to kind of put the scenario to have the conversation back and forth.
That's
because I honestly, no offense to you, but I think you're actually not a left centrist. I think you're an actual classical liberal.
Okay. I mean,
I'm saying the back in the 90s.
There's nothing wrong with it. I do believe in free speech and free trade, so fair.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of saying it.
Maybe, right? I do have some conservative views. That's true. But like, I would have voted, or I did vote for Harris. I would have voted for Biden had he run. I think that MAGA, as bad as Democrats might be sometimes, and no one hates Democrats more than Democrats. Okay, let's be real.
I mean, the extremes on both sides are kind of circling around and becoming down the other side of each other in the terms. They're getting
the horseshoe
so back.
And the
horseshoe theory.
We can talk about that for hours. But yeah, at the end of the day, thank you. I do appreciate you coming and having the conversation and actually pushing back. I want pushback. I want my ideas challenged, because if I don't have my ideas challenged, or if the challenge is just empty slop, I don't get better. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. We don't, if
iron
we stay in our
iron.
Yep, and if we stay in our own little bubbles, we never get to hear any dissenting voices to challenge our thoughts. So I like that. So,
cool. Well, thanks for showing up.
Like, you want to keep civilians safe, keep ICE out of the civilian area where they don't want to sort of fiddle with that situation. So you're against sanctuary cities and states.
I go
at
back
least in the sense of the prisons and everything. You have a convicted, we'll say convicted, I think it should be less, but if there's a convicted person that's illegal in that prison, should they call ICE and say, we've got somebody here that might need to be deported, it'll cost us less money, can you guys come and get them? Should they be able to do that? I mean, if the state law allowed it.
I don't know if I want to release dangerous criminals to other countries. I think I want to keep them in prison.
And let's say if the ICE's policy is, if there's a convicted person in the U.S., they're going to send them to El Salvador prison or whatever, so they'll still be in prison.
I don't know if I trust other governments to do prisons in a way that the
person is not a citizen of the United States.
I understand. I don't think anyone,
they're going to another prison in another place.
I don't think anyone, regardless of their prisoners, their citizenship status, should be subject to cruel and unusual punishment. And I trust our government as more than I trust like El Salvador's government, right? Because I can hold my government accountable in a way I can't hold El Salvador's government accountable. So again,
I can agree.
I'm okay with deporting violent criminals, but if we already have them in prison, why not just keep them there?
Because it's costing U.S. taxpayers money for somebody who's not
money to keep
that already did something against U.S. taxpayers by committing a crime.
The deportations cost money too, right?
Huh? Yes,
deportations also cost money.
I can imagine it'd be significantly cheaper though. Like
$800 plane ticket versus 30 years in prison. Are you kidding me?
Hold on. You do know we pay CCOT to keep those prisoners, right? It's not free.
Yes, true.
But there could be a situation where this person committed a crime not only in the U.S. but also in their original country.
Well, we have extradition laws in that case, and whatever the extradition laws say, we'll do.
Speaking of deportation, it's time for everybody to get the fuck out. So, Nonfon, would you like to start with your closing statements, please?
Sure, I'm Nonfon. I'm the ultimate globalist, okay? The gains from free trade are large, and the gains from immigration are arguably even larger, okay? I think Wick is absolutely right in everything he said, and Rinyald is also right. He's my goat. I'm Nonfon. I'm going to keep streaming for a while, so if you guys want to check me out, I think we'll be talking about, we might be talking about the ICE a little bit more, and then we'll be talking about Zorhan and probably some of the Iran stuff as well. Stream on YouTube at Nonfon and Twitch and Kick at Nonfon420.
Thank you, Nonfon. And if any of the wrenches want to drop your link in the chat, that's perfectly welcome. I am already set to raid Resla this evening after this show, but we're more than welcome to drop the link so that if people want to continue this conversation, they can follow you, Nonfon.
I appreciate it.
Dragon Rage, would you like to give your closing statements, please?
I didn't even think to have anything prepared at this moment, so give me a second.
Sure, we'll skip on. Rinyald, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm Rinyald. I like the Constitution. I like defending the Constitution. I really don't like that half of the country is not interested in defending the Constitution. All of the people who were in the comments who disagreed with anything that I said didn't actually disagree with anything that I said and were just looking for nitpick things that weren't related or criticized my shirt. So that's how I know that I won an argument. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube. It's Rinyald's Notebook. All right. I want to start making money, so help me start making money. And yeah, Wick, let me on one of your panels.
Anytime, just DM me on Discord, buddy.
And feel free to drop Rinyald's link in the chat as well, please. Thank you very kindly. Mr. Bill, sir, what the fuck is that?
Somebody called me a boomer earlier.
I'm going to have fucking nightmares. Send him away. Goodbye, Mr. Clowny Face. To you, Mr. Bill, your final thoughts, please.
Only Mr. Bill. As you'll notice that when I was talking to these guys, I came to try to come to some kind of compromise in most situations. None of them would come with any kind of compromise from my position. And also, in most cases, I got cut off in the middle of most of my thoughts.
Compromise.
But anyway,
the
if you guys want to sort of help me out with my headache
only a
after
little.
talking to these guys tonight, check me out at Only Mr. Bill on YouTube or Twitter or whatever is out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bill.
I am ready.
Fair enough. And before you go, shots are fired over at Rinyald from Hector. Says Rinyald would easily get dismantled by lower IQ than Wilson or Noor.
I know you got to run to your safe daddies. I know that Andrew Wilson and Rob Noor could never do anything wrong. I know that, there's no conservative beta that's better than that. And you have to, anytime a conservative gets beaten in an argument, you'd be like, well, you wouldn't beat Andrew Wilson. Like, okay, come talk to me. I don't know.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Dragon Rage, with your final thoughts.
So I do have to say I really do enjoy listening to Wick. Some of the conversations I've listened to over the last couple of months kind of sometimes sounds like a screeching owl. No offense, just in a couple of the debates. But tonight it was absolutely 100% perfectly. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. Audible, understandable, and actually intelligent in terms of it. I really appreciate what he brought forward and the fact that he's willing to listen and push back as well without getting insane about situations. So I really like it. And, I think the Trump administration is going a little bit overboard. And I do think that, unfortunately, is a cause and effect from previous situations. So do I think it's right? Not 100%. Do I think it's an inevitable thing that would have happened? Yeah, unfortunately. So just one of those situations. So that's where I stand tonight.
Thank you, Dragon Rage. I appreciate it. Vibe, I know you just got back. We're doing final thoughts if you have some closing statements to kick around.
Yeah, my closing statement, and thank you for bringing me on in the last minute because I realized I was coming in at the last minute. Wick, I actually want to have a one-on-one with you. Not a debate, just a discussion, because I actually do respect where you come from. I like the intelligence from there. Love to just have a conversation with you one day. With that, I mean, that's all. I just came on to say I do respect Wick. I disagree with a lot of things, but I think we can find some common ground. So just want to jump in and say always appreciate listening to you.
No. If anyone, and this goes for anyone, I guess is a common theme. If you want to be on my show, or if you just want to talk to me, my DMs are open on Twitter and on Discord. Just DM me, and I'll probably answer as long as you're not telling me to that you're going to find my family and kill them, which has happened more than once.
Oh no!
I'm not going to do that.
You are against that.
I do want to have a one-on-one.
I might answer you and tell you to do things that I can't say on stream.
I can connect Vibe and Wick. I'll connect the both of you on Twitter if you want, because I know Vibe. You
Discord too. I mean.
Oh, he already has your
He
Discord.
does. He's DM'd me before.
Oh, you guys are already be making out and shit. Fuck that! I didn't get any work for this then.
I just didn't want to say it publicly. So yeah, I'd love to have a one-on-one with Wick.
Yep.
Have a debate discussion.
You didn't want to tell him publicly that you guys already have a little date. Is it like a Netflix and chill kind of thing, or what are we talking here?
We ain't chilling at Netflix. Okay?
We'll see. We'll see. It's gonna be big.
Although you two, you fucking nerds, you would be sitting there like watching some Star Wars and shit and being like, "This is so fun, guys. Who brought the popcorn?" And Hector with the shots firing one last round before we close says Rinyald, who is the Democrat leader at the moment who holds their true values in modernity.
I don't know. I mean, like, if we're defining true values as like not wanting to terminate the Constitution that you take an oath to uphold, then almost anybody's better than Donald Trump right now. You know, I don't know. It's not time to vote. I don't know. I'm not even super strongly aligned to the Democratic Party, but it takes, you know, apparently it makes you a diehard, bleeding heart leftist to fight for the Constitution. I don't know. It's a shame where our country's at right now.
In other words, he means Crockett.
No, I hate Crockett.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. And look at this. They're just still sending the love. Kissy Cat with the 20. Not 1, not 2, not 5, not 11, but 20 gifted Gauntlet memberships. Love sent across the board. Thank you, Kissy Cat, from the bottom of my missing heart. It's black. I'm soulless. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be sure we have Friday night. I've got a whole list of them. Friday night, we've got a debate with. It's titled as Mod Monday, but that's only because of the format. You got to get used to this, okay? Friday night, tomorrow night, we've got Andrew Wilson, Jim Bob, and then 2 of the Mormon debaters. We've got Josh Stacy for Senate on Twitter and Dennis, I can't remember his last name. Anyways, but 2 very kind gentlemen who are excited to come and debate the continued series of the Mormon debates. This is number 2 out of, I believe there will be a third, and we will kick those off again tomorrow night. Then Sunday night, of course, as Ryan said, come back. Him and Rob Noor are debating on the Trump administration and the miscommunications and false and true and this and that and all of that. It's a well-needed debate that is coming. I'm very, very, very excited for it. I've actually have a whole Word document of their topics that they want to go through. And then, of course, Monday night, it'll be posted here shortly. We've got Moderator Monday with Andrew Wilson, Marte Rules versus Charlie, thanks to WhickTV, and a new person. It is Personality of Cult. He's really big over on the Threads side of things. So click a bunch of buttons, hit a bunch of notification bells. There's even more scheduled beyond that. Outside of that, I love you all. Fuck off.
We love Sarah. W Sarah. We're going to go bug Nonfon. So don't go away yet. Okay. Let's see what Nonfon's up to. Oh, there he is.
Whoa. I got here before you. Oh, Rinyald is here.
Well, I bet you wouldn't beat like Andrew Wilson. Like, why don't you go to big Andrew Wilson? Yeah. Yeah. What'd you think? Did you have fun?
I had a mostly fun time. I think it would be interesting to do a. I don't know if I'll do this because I wanna. There's so many things I want to read about. Okay, and I don't know what order I want to read about them in. But I think it could be fun to do a Throwdown Thursday where I'm just defending the economics behind immigration. I did that with sheriffs, and that was fun.
But. Yeah, that would be cool. I wanna go on for a fucking Throwdown Thursday in regard to anything, whatever I'd be able to get on about.
You should. I mean, you can just DM Sarah.
I might. I need to land on a good topic though.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I might just be the due process violations. That one dude was frothing. Holy.
Dude, that was kind of crazy that none of them like answered or like, do you think it's like acceptable that these people were, being loaded onto planes before the proclamation was made public, and the only reason they could even appeal
everybody you were talking to was 60 years old or older.
I don't think I've ever seen such like a flagrant disregard of a question. Just like completely ignore it, just don't answer it. Like even the one dude, like I gave, and Ryan gave, and you gave, like the one dude so many opportunities to answer that question, and he just didn't. And then he was like, well, you made a presupposition, and then they were like, what was it? And he was like, well, I don't remember. Oh my god. Okay.
What the fuck is this game you're playing on, Fun?
I was also wondering that.
Fuck. Export Hold'em. I don't know. It's new. It's just you get a bunch of countries.
Thailand, freaking.
You have to pick which one you think has to export these. It's the biggest exporter of these. I'm gonna guess Japan is the biggest exporter of computers.
Yeah, it's easy.
Mexico winning choice.
That's wrong. They probably have shit computers, garbage computers.
I don't know. I would think China would be. I'm gonna guess the Netherlands. I really don't know.
I'm hungry. I'm gonna go eat.
Hell yeah.
But it was good. Good talking, Nonfon. I love you. Thanks for the glaze. I appreciate it. I gotta go eat. I'm hungry.
Hopefully. I told before you asked to be in Wick's panels, I told him because he was like, I don't know who Rinyald is. I DM'd him. I was like, Rinyald's my goat. Invite him to panels.
Fire. Let's go. Networking. That's what we call networking, baby.
True.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate you. I love you. You're my goat as well. Just trust. And whenever, just let me know. All right. I have to bring it up every single time we talk. Just let me know whenever you want to go through your notes, and I'd be glad to do it with you.
Rinyald needs to go vegan.
I need to.
Rinyald does need to go vegan. I think I'm on the Nonfon train where it's like, I'm like, yeah, it's probably better, but like, money and
hey, I'll debate you on stream. I'll debate you on stream. We'll do it one day.
I don't even think you need to debate me. I think I agree with your ethical position.
God damn it.
I don't know about vegan. I definitely say vegetarian, but we'd have to see. But I mean, I feel like I could be pretty easily pushed to vegan.
Easy. Yeah, Nonfon needs to read the book quick here, and then he'll be converted, and it's done.
I've got so much more pressing. Like I've got to finish a billion other things before I do a veganism debate. That's gonna be like 2 minutes long. Where it's like, do you think we should kill animals? I'm like, no, probably not. And you're like, okay, base.
Boom, he's vegan. It's done.
True. Okay. Thanks, guys. Love you.